Briefing journalists at the command headquarters, the Commissioner of Police in the state, Danjuma Aboki, said that the arrest of the suspects followed a coordinated operation by the operatives of the command. The murder of DPO Ahiazu Mbise and an inspector of police took place on November 27, 2023 at Ahiara Junction in Ahiazu Mbise. Aboki explained that the murders were committed by disgruntled elements suspected to be members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its armed militia, Eastern Security Network. And according to him, following the subsequent confession of suspects arrested at the scene by police operatives in synergy with the military operatives of the anti-kidnapping unit on November 29, 2023, they stormed the camp of the criminal syndicate in Omohia, in Ngopala local government area of Imo State. Dislodged the terrorists, recovered 2 automatic pump-action rifles and 6 rounds of live cartridges. Okay, I applaud the police. They have done well. And like someone said, when the police sets their mind to do something, they do it. But the question is, if it is an ordinary man that is not a DPO or an inspector, will they put in the same energy like this? Who gave them the fuel money to go and do the investigation now? We're expecting the police to be doing this for every life or every criminal act that has been committed. Let them go after the criminals and bring them to justice, just like they've done here. Bravo to them.
Yeah, I don't think it should be for just one particular sect of people. It should be for everyone, because at the end of the day, you're protecting the citizens and their property, like in Nigeria. So you can't select, basically. You can't say, oh, if you're at the top, then we can protect you, or we'll bring to book, you know, every criminal. But then if you're just another guy on the street or another lady on the street, well, we don't know you, so we don't have to. No, it shouldn't be that way. It should cut across everyone. So if you have the liberty to be able to protect these people, if you've been given that mandate, then you should take it and make sure that you protect everyone and not just some people.
Yeah. And don't ever think that some things are trivial, like it's not important enough. If you lose your phone now, they'll ask you to bring maybe something like 80 or 180,000, you know, so for them to do the processes, you know, they can trace the calls, the phone and everything. These things are at their disposal, but they're telling you, giving you big grammar, and then you'll have to provide that money. Sometimes the money is almost as much as the one you used to buy the phone.
And sometimes people don't even bother. You just be like, why would I spend that that much money to be able to get my phone back? Why can't I just buy a new phone? And the process is not easy. Before you go there, they tell you come today, come tomorrow.
By that time, they've drained your account and everything.
Even your energy, you're just tired. You'd be like, it's better I just forfeit it. So, anyways, yes, let's just make sure that this goes round.
Yeah, it should go around.
It should go around. Okay, another story that caught our attention is the federal government to commence disbursement of presidential grants, loans to businesses. The federal government at the weekend said it is set to kick off 2 programs targeted at alleviating the impact of the fuel subsidy removal. According to a press statement made available, signed by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite. The 2 programs are the Presidential Conditional Grant and the Presidential Palliative Loan. The statement reads, in quote, in the Presidential Conditional Grant Program, the federal government will disburse a grant to citizens for the sum of 50,000 naira. Is this 50 million naira to 50,000 naira? That shocks me a little bit. Okay, to nano businesses across the 774 local government areas in the country. The federal government scheme will be carried throughout the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, as well as the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria. SMEDAN will be collaborating with the state and local governments, federal legislators, federal ministers, banks, and other stakeholders. Eligible nano businesses beneficiaries will have to provide proof of residential business address in their local government area and provide relevant personal and bank account information, including the bank verification number BVN for verification of identity. Eligible beneficiaries can get more information and apply at the website dedicated to the program. The statement also revealed that under the Presidential Palliative Loan Program, the federal government will likewise disburse $75 billion to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises across various sectors and $75 billion specifically to manufacturers with a single-digit interest of 9% per annum. While some MSMEs can access loans facilities up to 1 million naira with a repayment period of 3 years, manufacturers can accept loans up to 1 billion to access financing for working capital and a repayment period of 1 year for working capital or 5 years for the purchase of machinery and equipment. So the first thing that caught my attention was because I wasn't sure if it was 5 billion or 50,000 or 5 million or 50,000.
It's 50,000. So if you're starting a business or you're doing a business and you want to expand it, they give you 50,000, and maybe you have to go to Lagos market or somewhere
How many businesses can you start?
Let's just say you want to buy a bag of rice. A bag of rice is about 55,000. So you'll look for another 5,000 to borrow to add to the 50,000. You have not talked about transportation
What is the point?
to and fro the market and all that. So at the end of the day, you find out that the 50,000 is just to help you in transportation to where you are going to get the goods to come and sell, because 50,000 as at today is nothing. So I don't know who are this set of people that are going to give 50,000.
That's less than $50.
And they're calling it a loan. So when you collect this loan and if you eat 2 plates of food out of the 50,000, it has depleted so much that you cannot use it for anything anymore.
I have so many questions. First, if I'm going to start a business, I have to think of rent, right? I have to think of power.
No. They say you already have a business. So
Yes,
you have to provide their location, the resident or the business location.
Yes, but then the reason why I'm coming for a loan is because I need to float the business. Like I need more money. So possibly I need to pay my rent. I need to pay for electricity. I need to pay for transportation. I need to still have capital for the goods that are going to be there. How much, because that's less than $50, how much can you buy with 50,000 naira, yet alone now set up something and then make profit from it and then repay that 50,000 naira loan?
They have specific people they want to give, and they know in their minds that they will not pay back this money. It's just part of the palliatives maybe. What happened to the student loans? Nobody has heard anything about it. It was supposed to start in September. This is December. We have children. A lot of people have children in the universities that are not able to access these loans. And even if they want to access the loans, you see that if you're earning more than 500,000 per annum, which means you are earning even 40,000 if you're earning per month, it is possible that you'll be earning more than 500,000 per annum. So you can't accept that loan. So they're looking for people who are earning less than 20,000 to be able to access this loan. And people who are earning less than 20,000 are not sending their children to school. So who is going to collect this loan?
How do I even repay the loan? And I think this is what I'm going to say. I mean, we will still applaud the government for the initiatives that they're bringing and, you know, trying to put things in place. However, what is what doing?
Is what doing
well. It's better for you not to even do it at all than for you to bring programs that we can access.
Let's leave it here. We just would like to announce to you, this is an announcement. SERAP has discouraged they have discouraged the Senate President against Wike's plan for VP's new residence. I wonder if that is his responsibility. He wants to build a befitting, that's what he said, a befitting accommodation for the VP. And SERAP is saying, no, at this time, this is very, very, very unnecessary. So we leave that to the Senate to decide if the Senate that is buying those cars and all that will not say, okay, let's do this for VP as well, so that we too will be vindicated. Not be only we they spend the money and all that. But let's just take a break here. When we return, we'll be looking at the papers. Stay with us.
It is important. This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
Accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education. And girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Now we're going to look at the national dailies and what the paper is saying in Off the Press. I have with me Sani Fage, who's going to join us to review the papers this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's get straight to it. We're going to start with Nature News. And the first headline here, the major headline says, why Nigerians flawed COP28 Climate Change Summit in Dubai. I'm sure you know that about 1,411 people were there as delegates for this COP28 summit. What are your thoughts on how we sent 1,411 people there.
You see, whatever we have, we tend to make it a jamboree. The delegation that Nigeria sent, I think, is the third largest. We and China sent almost the same number. And I think the hosts were the highest, then perhaps Brazil. So we are the third one. But if you look at our own contribution to the emission, we contribute less than 0.0%, maybe about 0.3%. China, which contribute about more than one third of the emission, they sent equal delegation to us. But I think this, even though it's a serious thing, but we are wasting a lot of resources on the issue. Even though the government come out to defend it, that it is not the one that is putting all the bill, but I think sending such a large number of delegation at a time when the country is in financial crisis, I think that is a misplaced priority to do that.
Yeah. So I want to read out something. China's budget for 2024 is about $4 trillion, which is about $2,860 per head. Now, Nigeria's budget is about $33 billion, which is about $165 per head. I understand that, okay, you're saying they did not foot all of this bill, but does it even make sense for us to be with China sending the same amount of delegates to the same place when we have no business? I want to believe we could have sent less and then we'll still have the same impact. Do you agree?
Oh yes, I quite agree with you, because in the first place we are not going to make any impact. Even will be all lookers, will not make any impact, even if we are allowed to talk in that situation. Like I said, we contribute about 3% of it, less than 1%. Here are countries that contribute more than one third, and they send a delegation equal with us. And you know, given their own power, they will dominate the process. So I think it is, like I said, it's a wasteful exercise sending such a large number of delegation. We could have gone with even maybe 1/6 of what we send, and yet we make the same impact that we will make.
Okay, on the Tribune newspaper, we have a small headline there. We're not starting with the biggest headline, but we have a small headline which is quite worrisome to so many people. Reject Wike's plan to spend 15 billion naira on VP's residence, Serap tells Akpabio. Remember that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory is saying that the VP needs a befitting accommodation, and because of that he intends to spend 15 billion building that accommodation for the VP. Your comments, please, your thoughts.
I think this too is another wasteful exercise. Remember, in the just supplementary budget, a huge amount of money was earmarked for, you know, the building, the old building. And I think when we had a new building for the vice president, so putting such a huge amount, 15 billion, is uncalled for. In fact, it is insensitive to the feelings of Nigerians. The time we are now is, like I said, we have serious economic problem, then we have serious poverty in the country and hunger. Now, put this 15 billion, compare it with what the government proposed to spend on two critical sectors, that is health and education. The total of them is 12 billion, which means under what the government, the minister is saying they are going to spend on just the vice president. So if health sector will get just 4% or 4 billion plus, and then education will get about 7 billion plus. So I think the government is insensitive to actually the conditions of Nigerians. And the best thing is for the government, now for the assembly to reject that proposal, not to allow it to go because of the situation we are in now.
Well, I don't know if the assembly thinks about frivolous spending and saying that it is not necessary at this time, because like we were just talking with Rume here, is that let them do something also for the vice president, so that it will be like that they are not the only ones spending this money of Nigeria. Remember, they just bought their own cars for 160 million each. Well, now there is this headline on that Tribune as well. Just on top of the top right corner, we have FIRS waives penalties interest on outstanding tax liabilities. I don't know if this is the way to go, especially as they are saying they want to make business environment so conducive that businesses will thrive. Is this the way to go?
No, I think it's the wrong way to go about that. Because one, the government put a lot of emphasis on taxation. In fact, they say they are going to raise it because it is one of the major source for the IGR for the government. Now, by the time you raise it, investors are always worried. Those who are already in the country will fly out and go to somewhere else where the taxation and the environment is very conducive. Those who have not come in will be scared to come in. So I think that is a wrong thing. If you look at the major policies in most places, is that they make it attractive for investors to come. In a way, sometimes even give tax holidays, sometimes give all sorts of concession on taxation, so that investors will come. But here we are saying we want them to come in, and we are frightening them, we are threatening them, in fact, with more taxes and penalties. So I think that is will be counterproductive to what the government set out to do.
So what do you think would be a better solution for this, if you were to advise the government?
Like I said, you try to create environment, a conducive environment. In so many places, you have the tax holidays. You have you also cut, the taxation and other things. Perhaps they could find a way to get to provide incentive for those who have not been paying to pay. But when you threaten them, I think that is negative. Like they say, nobody goes to the tax office with a smiling face. Even in the developed countries, people have to. Yes, you see, people
money is out of your pocket.
Yeah, they are paying out of their pocket. So I think you have to find a way. But when you take the carrot and stick strategy, even those who are willing, they will not come. After all, tax evasion is a worldwide phenomena. Yeah. So when you take steeper penalties, I think given our own situation, many will not come.
Yeah. Well, we hope that they make business environment more better for people, and people don't have to do businesses in a hostile environment in Nigeria. Yes. Anyways, let's move over to The Punch, and the major headline here says Japa. That's it. For those who don't know what Japa is, it means people who are moving away from Nigeria to the beyond, to probably going to the UK.
When you say beyond, it's just like they're dying.
Okay, no. To overseas, going to another, moving to another country. So there are two headlines here, which kind of talks about the Japa thing we're facing now. So the major one says, hospitals reduce outpatient surgeries as 4,000 doctors migrate. And the writers here says 1,197 Nigerian doctors moved to the UK since May 29, and 789 Kenyan nurses, 162 doctors quit. OAUTH closes psychiatric unit over lack of nurses. Doctors fold 5% held budget. Also, there's a smaller headline here that says over 150,000 Nigerians applied for US visa in 2023. What are your comments on this whole Japa thing and how we're losing the resources that we're supposed to have as a country?
You see, this phenomenon of people, migrating to greener pasture has been with us for quite some time. But now I think the conditions are making it worse than what we used to have. The reason is that professionals, now we are seeing it in the health sector, but even in education, in other areas, people are migrating because the working condition in Nigeria is so bad. Professionals are being paid slave wage to do the work. They are overworked, and there are no conducive. Environment. The environment is very harsh. You don't have facilities to do it, and they are being demanded outside. So I think the government has to look at this issue seriously. Like I said earlier on, if you look at what the government budget on health, just 4 trillion or something like that, they are not seriously concerned with, or at least facing that challenge. So we are going to see more of it because of the hard environment here, and the way, the government takes the sin rather lightly. They don't put it this way. And above all, it is the common man that will be affected. Already the cost of pharmaceuticals are very high. People are not affording it. And now they are short of medical personnel. And this will translate into the closure of some vital wards. So we will have a very critical situation in Nigeria as far as health is concerned. And I think as far as education also is concerned, this is what we are going to see.
Yeah, I believe that health is wealth. And if you want a thriving nation, if you want a nation full of people who are able to be able to move it forward, you need to be able to invest in their health. At least they should be able to have, coverage for whatever happens to them. Anyways, another headline here says, budget is a smaller headline. It says National Assembly, 6 agencies allocations rise 40% to 1.4 trillion naira. What are your thoughts on that?
You see, these are some of the things that we are going to see, especially given the tight schedule that the budget has to be scrutinized. It was submitted rather too late, just some days ago. And, the budget year will start on 1st January, meaning in less than 1 month, everything will have to be done. So I think this issue of scrutinizing sectorial thing and the way the other sectors that the way the assembly will be going, I think it's just going to be a mere ritual exercise. There wouldn't be serious investigation so that at least they will scrutinize the thing and give it the proper attention that it deserves. So I believe what the assembly is saying is just a political gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's move to the Vanguard newspaper. We've already treated some of these headlines that are here on the Vanguard newspaper, but we have this National Assembly Committee to propose commence quick amendment of sections of PIA. So the PIA, they want to commence quick amendment of the sections of the PIA. I wonder what sections they want to commence amendment to, and what Nigerians will all want to see in this amended PIA.
Yeah, you see, now that one we have to wait and cross our fingers and see which section are they going to do. But I think the PIA, this thing is just a new thing. And, at the time in that it was being worked out, the necessary measures have not been taken. So now we are seeing the result of a kind of a rush job, even though it stayed for quite some time until when the last government brought it out. And even then, they just push it to get it through. So I think people are looking forward to seeing which part of it will be reviewed, so that perhaps it will bring some reprieve to Nigerians. We are hoping that they will do a very serious thing and take into consideration the plight of Nigerians.
Okay, we also have this headline here, a financial headline. Nigeria's economy begins major shift as oil sector rebounds. That is what they're saying. I don't know if you also agree that it is a major shift for the better. Also, as the Secretary to the government of the Federation says to Nigerians, keep faith, there is hope for Nigeria. Let's tie these two together and see what you will assess Nigeria as. Are we rebounding? Are we coming back strong? Do we have that hope? Have you seen the light at the end of the tunnel? Let's hear what your thoughts are.
Actually, to me, I haven't seen the light, and I haven't seen us taking the right measure to go into the tunnel so that we can see the light at the end of it. This bouncing, petroleum or the oil sector is a major earner, of course, in terms of foreign, but in terms of the GDP, the other on the economy, the impact is agriculture. And we seem to still continue to neglect that one. So I think this is a major challenge, that we are putting our eggs in one basket, and we seem to ignore others, which will have been, had it been we face diversification seriously, I think there will be hope for that. And the second thing is, the extravagant expenditures on non-productive areas. You see, the budget proposal now, if you divide it into three, more than 1/3 of it is going to debt services. About 1/3 of it is going on recurrent expenditure. Less than 1/3 is going for capital project. So I think we are not taking the right step in that direction. So I think that is why I say, to me, I don't see us taking the right step to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
All right. Let's move over to The Guardian, and the major headline here says, over 60 refinery licenses inactive 18 years after as fuel import thrives. So we have like 60 refinery licenses that are inactive, and I'm sure some of them are modular refineries for a nation that has crude, and we have about 60 refinery licenses. Should we even be having the issues that we're having right now?
Yeah, had it been we are serious with refining our needs and exporting what we don't, the excess, I think we wouldn't be in the problem that we are. But given the corruption surrounding the thing, that is why after 18 years, licenses were not utilized by about 16 of them. So I think if they even investigate, they will find it there are even more than this number, because it is very cheap, and the corruption will thrive easily when we put on the importation emphasis on importing our needs. But otherwise, had it been we have these modular refineries, and also we revive the major ones that we have, I think we wouldn't be in this situation. After all, if the government will go deep and investigate, they will see that the money we spent over these years is more than enough to establish more than 5 new refineries in Nigeria, and yet we still depend on importation of our needs. And which is the irony that Nigeria is perhaps one of the major importers exporters of crude oil, and we are also the importers of refined oil. So I think this is a very serious problem also.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. This is where we'll wrap it up on the paper review on Off the Press. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to Sani Fage, and he's been helping us to review these papers on everything we have on our national dailies. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at our first hot topic. You want to stick around for that.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. By no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild.
This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Remember, okay, welcome back. Remember that the Nigerian delegation to the COP28 is 1,411. Some figures are saying 1,141 and all that, but it's 1,411 people. Out of that, over 800 are government delegation, and some others are from CSOs, from NGOs, from the media. That's what we've been told. But we have over 1,000 delegates to the COP28 holding in Dubai. That number is also the same number that China is sending. Remember that China's population is seven times the population of Nigeria. In fact, if you divide their number with the 200 million that we're saying that Nigeria has, that means they have like a 7.06 times our population. So right now, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last presidential is Comrade Mark Adebayo. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Yes. Well, there's divergent opinions to the delegation that Nigeria sent to the COP28. While some people are criticizing that number, that it's too much, there's a waste, because there's nothing really that a lot of people like that will go and say at COP28 that one person or 10 people or even 20 people cannot say. And from the presidency, we have been told, given many reasons why the delegation is important that it be taken to that place. But let's hear what your thoughts are. 1,411 people representing Nigeria under whatever auspices at the COP28. What are your thoughts?
Well, you see, I think there's this satanic culture of waste in the blood of Nigerians, especially at the level of leadership, that they have no shame in wasting scarce resources. They tell us to tighten our belt, but at the same time, they are loosening theirs. There is nothing 1,400 or 1,000 people or 1,014, whatever figure they are banding about is over 1,000 people, that 25 people cannot confidently do. I'm talking of maybe you have 5 government officials, then 5 assistants who can, maybe experts who can help them to understand what this COP28 is all about. Carbon dioxide emission for the whole of Africa is a paltry 4%. From Nigeria is 0.39%. So if China is going there with 3,000 delegation, it is understandable because China is the most guilty of carbon dioxide emission throughout the world. United Kingdom, Britain that colonized us, is going there with just 75 people. So that's a country that is 1 million times richer than us, better organized than us, well taken care of, its citizens better taken care of than us, 1 million times over. Now they are going there with 75 people. In what areas is Nigeria is so much engrossed in this COP28 that you have to take over 1,000, about almost 1,500 people to Dubai. I was in Dubai and I knew how much it costs for a hotel per night. The meal per plate and all other things. Then the visa, the tickets, then they get extra code 1,000 in a country, in an economy that is so repressed, that is so oppressed, an economy that is extremely under extreme tension, where poverty level, according to National Bureau of Statistics, over 130 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. And then you are doing a jamboree, carrying 1,500 people to Dubai. So to what extent, for what? Or to UAE. To what extent? It is just that, we have not been lucky to have empathetic leaders. We have not been lucky in this country to have leaders that really feel the pain of the people, that really understand the yearnings of the people, that really understand the vision and the ambition and aspiration of Nigeria to live a good, better life like other nations. But people would rather, if you look at it, more than 80% of these people that have gone there are probably going to be political hangers on in the name of NGOs and media and the rest of that. What media? What media? You don't need more than 3, 4, 5 journalists to go there to cover for you. If you want to just pick people from the State House press corps to follow you there, 25 people maximum, 5 from government, 5 experts that will help them to understand what they're going to do. Probably maybe 1 or 2 people from the NGO and then the media. Maximum 25 to 30 people. Enough for a country that we know have been impoverished by its leaders over the years, over the decades, that have been impoverished, that people have been impoverished. You now carry 1,500 people to UAE. To do what? To what extent? How does that improve our medical situation? How does that improve our infrastructure? How does that even improve our economy? In what areas? In a country that is industrially backward, the people that they want in UAE are advanced countries that have industrially advanced, that are economically stable, that have good leadership, that understand the principles of governance and democracy and how to administer people in a way that will generally and collectively benefit the people. Not rogues, not political rogues in the name of political leaders who impact 1,500 people to UAE for COP28, when you are contributing less than 0.1% even to the industrial development of Nigeria, of the world. So what are you going to do there? If we actually were to reflect essentially on the current state of our economy and backwardness, what we need to do, it suffices to just send the Nigerian UAE ambassador to that summit. We don't need to, the president doesn't need to go, no governor needs to go, no minister needs to go there. Probably we can send the Minister of Science and Technology, if we have one, to go there. Not that we carry, you are going to do jamboree. We have this satanic culture of waste in this country. Even among the regular Nigerians, you want to do naming, you see how much we waste. You want to do burial, somebody that is dead. You go, you kill 100 cows. You go and buy a big. We have this satanic culture of waste, and that is what the mentality that these political cliques carry into government, and then they begin to loot the treasury of Nigeria. What is supposed to be used for development? What is supposed to be used for progress? What is supposed to be used for our health and our education? Now, how many parents can afford to pay the tuitions of their children now? I have a couple of them in the higher institution, and I know what I cover out. Or every session, every month, on taking care of these children. But we have a government that doesn't have subsidy for education, no subsidy for health, no subsidy for anything in this country. And then you carry, we will be in the forefront of demanding to know how much it costs Nigeria to send those people to UAE in the coming days.
They claim that they did not pay for everyone. So some delegates, funded themselves.
Okay, we want to see the breakdown. Let's see the breakdown. Let's see who paid for who and who didn't pay for who paid for themselves. We need to see. We can't take their word for it. We need to see. And even at that, it is still a waste. It is still unnecessary. It is still, reprehensible. I said UK sent 75 people to COP28. It's an industrially advanced country. America sent 159, less than 200 people. So what does Nigeria want to achieve beyond those countries? That you have to carry 1,000, half of the whole of the delegation of China. China is sending 3,000. It is understandable. It is responsible for over 38% of the carbon dioxide emission in the world. It is the major culprit in this business. So it can as well take 1 million out of its 1.2 billion people there. So, but what about Nigeria? What are we contributing into technology, into industry, into whatever that is good and positive in the development of the world? What are we contributing? We only have oil. We are like a spoiled child who has inherited from his grandfather and wasting the inheritance because we have oil that we can draw from the ground. That is what we do. So we need leaders who can think both outside the box and even without the box. But we don't have that yet. We have never had it in this country. Not even among those who are parading themselves as if they are better than the people that are there now. I mean, we have just been unlucky to have people that are ferociously implacable in terms of plutocracy. And it gets me angry. Look, the woman who wants to go and buy pepper this morning, who wants to go and buy gari, who wants to go and buy elubo, who wants to go and buy rice, who wants to go and buy something to feed her children this morning, but cannot afford it. You cannot explain to her why you are taking 1,500 people. I mean, at the end of the day now, you'll be hearing that we have spent 10 billion on that. And to what extent? To what benefit? What are we going there to say that America, China, India, Canada cannot? Canada is sending it's also sending less than 200 people, I believe. And then Nigeria is going there with 1,000. If they are paying for themselves, how well and good. But who? But how many people is our government paying for? What are these people going to do? That America that is going there with 159 people cannot achieve far better than us. And what stake do we even have? We are not among the industrial nations. We are not. Why are we deceiving ourselves? It gets people angry. You need to take your camera to the streets and listen to what Nigerians are saying about this. I don't want to use that word. About these shenanigans.
Yeah, well, you were saying there's no subsidy in a lot of areas, health and all that. I was just asking you whether you don't have faith in the government. They say there is a student loan. Don't you have faith in that? Is that not some kind of subsidy that we're having?
It's an enslavement policy. You go and read the conditions now. Go and read the conditions before you collect the loan. And after collecting it, go and read the conditions. It's just like, it's like when you are talking about American student loan, which is even a little better than ours, because you are led more or less into an involuntary indebtedness that is going to owe your neck for the next 10-15 years post-graduation until you pay off. So it's not. And then how many people, since they have announced the policy, how many students have come out to say that they are beneficiaries of the policy already? It's more or less like a futuristic things. I do not, until they start implementing it. For those who want to, I just want to appeal to parents and the students alike to read that document very well and study the conditions before they go willfully enter themselves into something they may not be able to take care of later. It's very important. That one. Let's remove publicity and propaganda from this business. We are talking about the real impact on the people, direct impact on the people.
Okay, let me read.
Have that direct impact on the people. That is our argument.
Let me quote Temitope Ajayi, a presidential aide, on the excuse why the number is that much. He said, and I quote, "Multifaceted stakeholders from different countries, including Nigeria, are on ground in Dubai because they don't want decisions that will affect them to be taken without pushing their own agenda. It is the reason delegates from China and Brazil are over 3,000 respectively. China is one of the world's biggest polluters, and Brazil is at the center of global climate debate with her Amazon forest. These two countries know important decisions that will affect them will be taken, and they have to move everything to be fully on ground and ensure they are fully represented by their best brains at every level of discussion and negotiation." So that possibly is the reason Nigeria is floating 1,411 people. What do you think about his argument that you need a lot of people to be on ground, the best brain in the country, to go and argue out at every turn in this COP28?
If that would be the case, I doubt that UK will go to UAE with 75 people only. I keep saying, look, even if we want to increase the number, maximum of 50 people will have been okay for us. And 80% to 85% of these 50 people should be experts in the field, not political jobbers, not political angers on or whatever, that they will go there and be doing what? A lot of people, I can bet you, a lot of people of that delegation are not going to have any roles to play. They will just go there, maybe do some sightseeing and the rest of that. We want to see an audit not only of the funding, not only of the finances, an audit of the activities and performances and assignments and engagements of probably everybody or organization represented in that COP28. That is when the Nigerian public will be appeased that, okay, it was worth it. Even if it was what is about protecting our interests, protecting our environment and the rest of that, and we don't have to leave the initiative to the industrial giants and the rest of that. Okay, well and good, but we need to see an audit of what everybody among these people has gone to do there. We need an audit of their assignments. We need an audit of their engagement. We need a full report, and we are going to trust the report of the NGOs more than any government agency. Anyways, his explanation fine, may be plausible, but we need to see. We need a report. We need a retirement. We need the funding and the activities and engagements of these people to be retired to Nigeria, to say, okay, the 1,500 people we took there, this is what this one has done, this is what this one has done. We need explanations. We need explanations. If America, India, Canada, United Kingdom, and even Australia are going there with far less number of delegates, that alone poo-poos any argument from anybody that, oh, we needed to move half of population of Nigeria to UAE. It's untenable. It's untenable. Except we are giving a clear-cut exposition of what really transpired in UAE. This will not go. We are not even yet out of the scandal of the yacht that 5 billion or so was released to go and buy yacht. They said presidential yacht and they say it's for Navy. I've not seen. We know of gumbooks, but the yacht to be presidential yacht to be given to the Navy to go and fight battle. Who are they deceiving? Yes, is what the presidential leader said. When you take it at face value, you will think it's reasonable. But it's untenable on the basis of empirical evidence of a bad economy, of bad infrastructure, and not so good leadership in the country at present. It's totally untenable. And Nigerians are very sensitive when anything affects their economic realities. Because everybody knows that presently the economy is not doing well. We are hoping that the promises of government that things will get better after the removal, the sudden and unprepared removal of first subsidy, that things, the pain of today will be the joy for tomorrow. We can only hope and pray that tomorrow that the joy will come, cannot even come fast enough. You need to go outside there and see what is happening. people, you see, as individuals, the kind of pressure you are under from friends, from family, from neighbors, from acquaintances, total, complete strangers who are begging for help every corner, everywhere you turn. It's as bad as that. But we don't have leaders. Actually, we don't have any. But we don't have rulers also who have the feelings of the people, who are connected. There's a total disconnect between the people and those who are ruling us. There's a wide hiatus. There's a wide hiatus of understanding. There's total. These guys don't know what we are passing through. They are ruling us. They are ruling over us, but they really don't know. They don't connect with the people. There's a total disconnect. We have to know that. And it didn't start yesterday. It didn't start today. It started from immediate post-independence. We have not been able to have a sterling quality leader from post-independence to date. The Foster elites that took over from the colonialists have handed over to political cliques. People keep saying political class. We don't have political class in Nigeria. We only have political cliques who terrorize the people, who oppress the people, who exploit the people and loot the treasury from top to bottom. That should ring a bell. Top to bottom should ring a bell. One of the presidents of Nigeria said so. So from top to bottom, from the federal to the local government, this is the same thing. Show me one governor. Let's forget the president. Show me one governor that has been able to connect with the people. No, so that is the issue. We have people who are ruling over us worse than colonialists did. That is the problem we have. The day you have somebody who is empathetic to Nigerians, you are not going to go have a president who is going to use 4 billion to renovate where you'll be saying, who is going to release 3 billion naira to renovate where the first president will be saying, and who will release another 4 billion to go and refurbish the dilapidated Dodan barracks in Lagos. You are not going to have any president who is going to release 5 billion. Buhari did that for the purchase of yacht. Yacht is for luxury, it's for enjoyment, it's not for fighting battle. Now, when we cried out, they said, no, it's for the Navy. You said presidential yachts. That's what we saw. That's what is in the budget. That's what is in the proposal. So don't turn it to say it belongs to the Navy. You need to see how these people live as if. That is why we keep blaming the international financial agencies for continuing to borrow money, to loan money to Nigeria. Because the ostentatious lifestyle of our leaders and the ostentatious lifestyle of Nigerians even abroad, you need to see the way we behave as if we are the richest in the world. We are one among the most backward. People are spraying dollars as if it's going out of fashion. And so people see us as if we are rich. We are just pretending. Because the kind of people that are governing in this country, they behave as if they are aliens, as if they are not part of us. And they are part of us. They are Nigerians. Okay. But they do not feel our pain. They are not empathetic to our situation. They are not sympathetic to the causes of Nigeria. They are not sympathetic to the progress of Nigeria. And that is the problem. But people come and tell you they will do this, they will do that. But they come into government, all they do is just about themselves. About themselves. That is what late respected Professor Shino Achebe called self-centered pedestrianism. And it has, in his book, The Trouble with Nigeria, which he wrote about 30-40 years ago. That's right. We need to fix the leadership issue in Nigeria. Once you fix leadership, you have fixed everything. We need to fix leadership. We need a Thomas Sankara in this country. We need a Thomas Sankara. We need a Nelson Mandela. The beautiful ones are not yet born. And if they are born, they are far away from the cynosure of power and democracy and political activism that will take us to the promised land. Not even all these pretenders who behave as if they are angels, when we know they are antecedents, they are real antecedents. We are talking about real people, real revolutionaries, who will come in and say, look, I have come to fix Nigeria, and if we go ahead and begin to fix Nigeria, and we refuse to waste our commonwealth on frivolities as we are seeing today. If anybody told you that Nigeria is owing so trillion of naira in local and international debt, and if you see the convoys of our governors, of our presidents, of our ministers, of even their aides, you will weep for this country.
All right.
Don't forget about political correctness. This is not about political correctness. It's about the people in the streets. It's about the regular Nigerians that are suffering, that are oppressed and tormented.
The common man.
By bad governance.
Okay, so you earlier asked for a report, like you want to see, we should all see a report of how the spendings went in the UAE. However, my question is, do you think the government will bring a report? And even if they do, what's the way forward? What are we going to do about that? Is there any action that could be taken, or is it just going to be water under the bridge?
Don't forget, I didn't say just about the funding alone.
Yes.
I also said about the activities, what these people, what they have done individually. We want to see a report of what they have done, all these people. Well, you see, for whatever it is worth, we need that report. We need that retirement. We need to hold on to something, even for the sake of analysis and future references. We need that document. We need it. They have gone for a summit. After every summit, everybody every participant, I'm involved in the NGO world too. I know that you need to submit. There must be a report within 72 hours of your summit, of a conference, of a workshop. There must be a report, a comprehensive report. Within that report, it will include the financial report. It will also include the report of the activities of each person or organization or group that is participating in that COP28. It's very important for us because we need to keep records as to know how to now engage this type of thing in future. It has always been our culture. Nigeria will send 25 players, first team and the reserve, to the World Cup or to the Commonwealth this thing, or to the Olympics. 25 players who will be on the field, 4 coaches, making 29. But we are going to send 200 government or 300 government officials to follow 29 people. To do what? To do what? So it has been our culture of waste that this government has now decided to continue with. That is why we are advising them. If I were to meet President Tinubu today, I will advise him, sir, you have one lifetime opportunity to write your name in the golden book of history as a leader who is transformational and not transactional. Don't waste it. Don't lose that opportunity. He has that opportunity now because he must know the controversies and brouhaha that surrounds his person, his election, and must do everything to right the wrongs. To say, look, what people are talking about me is not right. What they are saying about me, this is who I am. And the only way you can prove that is to cut waste, is to govern well. Governing well means improving the economy, improving the lot of Nigerians. You have taken away subsidy from fuel. If I were he, I will introduce direct subsidy on education. In any federal university, I will say no student should pay more than 50,000 naira. I paid 500 naira tuition per annum at Obafemi University level. 500 naira. 4 years, 2,000 naira. Room or bed space, 90 naira. If I have a present today, I pay the least I pay for my children, for any of my children, the least. I'm talking of tuition, I'm talking of without rent, without feeding allowance, without clothing allowance. God help you if some of your children are female. You use times 5 of the Bible times 10 to train a girl child to a male child. You have to take care of so many other things. You understand? So, you need to pay. The least I pay now is 170,000 naira tuition. Probably 200,000 naira for accommodation and a whole lot of departmental fees, faculty fee, this and that, all manner of things. Daddy, I want to do my hair. Daddy, I want to all manner of things. If I see a president today, I say the flat rate, any public school in Nigeria, any public university in Nigeria, 50,000 naira flat. Even there, I know that there are some parents who will struggle to pay that. But it will douse the tension. Especially in this part of the world, in the south, people are hungry to educate their children. So if you put subsidy on education and health for all Nigerians, oh wow, nobody will remember any other foibles or mistakes or errors you have committed in the past, because that is where it pinches most. But Do we have such empathetic leader now? Do you have such sympathetic leader now?
Okay.
So we are calling on President Tinubu to please, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, to please be that sympathetic leader, be that empathetic leader, be that progressive leader, be that visionary leader that knows that it is when the people are pleased with your government that you can rule, you can govern in peace.
Yeah. Okay, Comrade Mark, this is where we'll have to draw the curtain on this segment of the program. We'd like to thank you so much for coming and bearing your mind on the situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
We've been talking with Comrade Mark Adebayo, National Spokesperson, Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP. We were talking about the delegation to the COP28 from Nigeria, 1,411 people. It just reminded me of the delegation that was sent to China that I was talking about the other day from Cross River State. Commissioners, local government chairmen to go and, not palm trees even.
Bamboos.
Bamboos, yeah. Bamboos, to go and study bamboos. And as we speak now, we don't have enough bamboos in Cross River State. Anyway, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at this.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
The pandemic opened the world to a new dispensation regarding work. How people work and the career paths they take differ from generation to generation. There are 5 generations present in the modern workplace, each with unique expectations and perspectives. A person's career path is described as the work they do and the roles they hold as they climb up the ladder. Before the millennium, career paths for many was simply linear, which could be a person working at the same organization and growing there till they retired, or a person working in the same role but changing jobs a couple of times. Security and staying power were the cornerstone of this career path. However, with modern technology, a person's career path can be as multifaceted and versatile as the individual wishes. Millennials now work multiple roles in their career trajectories, pursue numerous passions that are sometimes interwoven, and work at different roles in their journeys. Baby boomers and Generation X only considered a job good if it gave them the security to work there till they retire. But for millennials and Gen Z, the workplace has changed, and so has the career structure. Millennials often change their career paths or juggle multiple interests simultaneously. Being able to move from one job to another might signal a person's employability and adaptability. Baby boomers tend to believe that working long hours is what defines success and value.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and now it's time for our second hot topic. President Tinubu has unveiled bold vision for greener Nigeria at COP28. So as we know, President Tinubu and about 1,411 delegates were present at COP28, and now he has unveiled a bold vision for Nigeria. I have with me Dr. Ambrose Igbokwe, the Chairman Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria Indigo Chapter. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Igboke. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the correction. Thank you for joining us, sir. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, great.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get straight into it. The president has unveiled a bold vision for greener Nigeria, and in all of this, he was talking about ending gas flaring as well as rolling out some buses. What do you think of all of this?
I have some extreme views about these talks about climate change, carbon emissions, carbon credits, greenhouse talk. For me, they are not something that Nigeria should even participate in at all. They are all cliches and narratives from the West to try to stifle us from using our natural resources to grow industries, to grow our economy. For 500 centuries or so, Europe has been using fossil fuel to develop their industries, the automobile industry, the steel plants, the pharmaceuticals, all the industry you can think of today. They have used the mining and exploitation of natural resources of different countries, even in Africa. They were used in our slaves were from Africa, were used in plantations. Our coal was used, transported from Enugu and other places to Europe to be used for the industries. And then when the exploitation of crude oil started, they used it again, and they've been using it. And then they used it to develop their countries for 500 years. And then all of a sudden, they come and have the audacity to tell us that, oh, this oil, why we are trying to develop our own now. They say, oh, the Earth's green layer is almost gone. There's too much of carbon emission. You have to cut down. Don't do this. I think the third world countries should be more circumspect to the fact that these Kyoto Protocol, COP28 conferences and all those things are not good for Africa and other developing continents or countries. There are narratives pushed by the West who have created some alternative energy, and they're trying to force it down the throat of developing countries, so that they can buy their expensive alternative energy and then make more profit from it. There's no way they can tell us that. And then, unfortunately, they push the scientific, knowledge narrative by publishing in journals, by the research they have done. So, over the years, we have found out that some researchers were actually doctored to favor economic growth of Europe. So, for African leaders, what do we really want? We want industrialization. We want economic growth. And we cannot be part of a conference that says we should not use our crude oil, we should not use our gas, we should not use our coal. These things, we should not be part of them. So being part of them already negates our economic growth. I think what Tinubu said in terms of gas flaring is okay. Now, who flares the gas? The oil exploitation in Nigeria has been done, and all over Africa and in most places of the world, has actually been done by these European companies that are telling us that there's too much of gas emission, of carbon emission. Who are the biggest exploiters of crude oil and fossil fuel in the world? We talk of Mobil. Mobil is an American company. We talk of Chevron. Chevron is an American company. We talk of Total. It's a French company. We talk of Eni. It's an Italian company. We talk of Shell. It's a British company. Then other places like Gazprom of Russia. And so Europe has been the most pollutants of the world. So what are they telling us? So my dear president should be talking about, if we are not flaring the gas, are we converting the gas? Nobody should tell us not to use the gas. We should convert the gas to be able to use it for other things. That is the only way I can align with what the president has said. But buying electric cars, saying, pledging that you buy electric cars from Europe, electric cars that you are not producing, what are you going to do with your fuel? I know the paradoxical thing about all this talk is that while Europe and United States of America are telling us to cut on this, cut on that, the major use of fuel is still by these countries, by fossil fuel. Okay. Remember what happened last year while Russia was having issues with Europe and refused to supply them gas. What did Germany do? Germany, with all the alternative energy, whatever they call clean, I don't know what is clean about the energy. There's nothing like clean energy. All energy have their own, have their own downside. So there's nothing like clean. There's no energy that is clean. Let them stop deceiving us with all these technical rhetorics. Now, Germany, who is pushing for that narrative, do you know that Germany used coal plants? Used coal last year to power their homes to heat their home systems. So what are we talking about?
All right, so
Africally,
are you saying that Nigeria should shut out? So you talked about 500 years ago that Europeans have used all of this, but could it be that they are more enlightened now and we still need to save our planet? And if you're saying that Nigeria should shut out, everything that we're being told, what does that do to the planet?
I didn't say 500 years ago. I said they started 500 years ago. They are still doing it. I just told you about how the major polluters of the world are the major companies owned by European countries and the United States.
So you use the word polluting.
They are still involved. They are still involved in it. So we should tell the rest of the world, like what China is doing. I like China and India. China, the East, the West is accusing China is polluting the world and the world is endangered. China said, let us develop our own industries. The response of India was that, oh, fine. When we pollute the world up to the point that you, Europeans, polluted the world, then maybe we can stop. But you cannot tell me that the world is in danger. And you were the one that put the world in danger. Then you told me to stop so that the danger of the world. If we perish in the danger, let us all perish. After all, civilizations perish. So we should not tell us about, I don't even agree with them that we're in danger. Because what is the carbon emission from Nigeria? How many industries does Nigeria have? How many industries are in Africa? The major pollutants of these industries are in Europe. They're the ones still depicting that they come to us and sell us narrative, and they are still doing the opposite. So what African leaders go there to do? Nigeria go where with a large delegation that I don't know where they came from. To do what? What is the green energy? What are we using our hydro? Are we finished using our hydro energy? Are we finished using our gas to power our energy needs?
Are you suggesting?
Like in Enugu, there's a lot of coal. There's potential for export.
Are you suggesting that we should not even align?
They are using it.
Are you suggesting that we should not even align with this global group that is trying to do something about this climate change? Do you think that we should stand alone and still do what we need to do to develop our country without having to join hands with them?
Absolutely. All we need to do is that the way coal was used 100 years ago, while mining started in Enugu, for example, at River Valley, it's not the way coal should be used now. There are modern technologies in the use of those things. All we need to do is to adopt the modern technologies to ensure that the emissions and all these things are minimal. We adopt, latest technologies to bring down this thing. What are we talking about? Well, it's only in Nigeria and some African countries we hear about pollution when you are exploiting crude oil. In other places, you hardly hear of that. And there are technologies now that clean up the pollution. But because of the Nigerian factor, we don't even clean up our own pollution. And who causes this pollution? The same America and Europe that is telling us about clean energy. The other time, they brought in fracking, another method of exploiting mineral resources down there, which is dangerous to the earth. Go to the mining sites. Some of the mining sites in America are even coming up that were abandoned. And some of them. So what we are saying is this: we have to engage the global community with our interests first. Our interests first. Why are you telling me about the world? What has the world done for me? What has the world done for Nigeria? The world has come to exploit Nigeria family from the days of slavery. And there are these people telling you don't use your natural resources, and they are using their own. The oil reserve, the fuel reserve of the United States of America is far more, I think, all the reserve of the whole African continent altogether. So who will use the oil they are reserving? Have they closed down their own company, the use of their own fossil fuel? They have not. They are still using it maximally. So, and they are introducing little things like electric cars and because they are producing and testing. But we are not producing any of these things. And they want us to buy solar energy at a very exorbitant price. And they want us to buy other alternative energy at very exorbitant because they are producing it and pushing it down to us. So these things should stop. Nigeria should behave like India. Nigeria should behave like China. Because these are emerging global powers, and because they don't align with all those things, they are still producing with their fossil fuel. So all these talks, we should know how we can use the latest technology and instrumentalities of AI and other technologies that are coming up now to see how we can minimize the dangers that emanate from, but telling me that we should not use our fossil fuel, that is dangerous, this and that is not what we should be involved in now. Let us focus on industrial revolution.
Okay, so let's talk about the environmental hazard that this could pose. For instance, in Port Harcourt, we know about the soot, and this is coming from gas flaring. How do we mitigate all of this to ensure that the people are even safe if we don't apply these measures that are being advised to us by the experts?
It's because Nigeria is the way it is, actually. Are you supposed to flare gas? Are we the only country that is exploiting and refining gas? Are we the only people that have crude oil resources? Other places don't flare gas. Gas flaring is an anathema. Gas flaring is a thing of the past. For the past 30 years, many countries are not flaring gas. Those things you are flaring are actually money that you can convert to other use. So it's only in Nigeria we flare gas. I don't know what's wrong with us as a country. All these suits, I grew up in Warri. So you don't need to tell me about suit. And my uniform was white and white. There's what we call acid rain those days when we're young boys. You are going, we call it acid, because all your clothes, some of them will perforate your clothes. You have suits, dots all over your school uniform. And some of them refuse to go away, some of them will perforate. So I experienced it firsthand. And that is because there's gas flaring. And who is flaring the gas? European country, the European companies and American companies working in Niger Delta and in Nigeria. Why their countries are not even sanctioning them? If Nigeria even lacks the willpower to sanction them, which has been happening over the years, their own parent countries have not sanctioned them. So that's to show you the hypocrisy of all this narrative. It's hypocritical, and Africa should see through it and stop all these, charade we call meetings. And then for us to go with over 1,411 delegates makes smacks of the hypocrisy of the whole thing, and it looks like if we don't know what we are doing.
Okay, what about this argument that while they're talking about climate change on the one hand, they're also asking for funding for critical sectors of our economy that will help us fight this climate change and all that. So something is coming to Nigeria. That's part of the argument. What would you respond to that?
We don't need to fight climate change. We don't have what climate change do we have? We have wildfires, and we have. You see, when these people have developed some narrative, we just buy it up, latch on it. That's how they told us that palm oil was not good, that is have high level cholesterol. Only for them to come back in a journal some few years back to tell us it was an error, and so many other things. So we shouldn't be buying into all this narrative. All we don't need aids. We don't need funding for this thing. The funding, how does it come? It comes in form of aids. So you pledge $100 million to help us aid our clean energy reforms and the rest. Where did the energy come from? You supply us the equipment, you supply us the machines, you supply the technology you have developed for that purpose, and then we are owing you. So that means we are buying. Look at Nigeria that cannot feed the citizens. It's talking about donating to a special fund by United Nations for climate change. Where can we come out from this full error? We can't even feed our citizens. Nigerians are dying daily. We can't even give 24 hours power supply. We can't even have good roads, no good hospitals. We have intellectual drain. Our professionals are leaving because we can't pay them. And then we go there to contribute funds or to ask them to bring funds for us. I don't know who did this to African leaders, actually. I don't know. But it's time for the people to really see through the line and save Africa.
Oh, well, comrade, would like to thank you so much for bearing your mind to us this morning. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, we've been talking with the chairman, the Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria, in the person of Comrade Igboke. He was talking to us from Enugu State. This is where we are going to wrap it up on the show this morning. We do hope that you had a wonderful time watching the program. Until we meet again tomorrow, my name is Kamgul Agaji.
My name is Brume Paulson. Have a good day.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Minding your mannerisms in public signals civility. Your behavior determines how others perceive you, and if you can leave a good impression, why not?
When it comes to that, it's about really making sure that you don't do something that will make people upset. So let me give you a typical example, public toilet, right? You want to walk into that washroom nice and clean, and at the same time, you want to leave it clean for someone else to use it like that. But what you find is that some people use it haphazardly. They don't care about who's coming in next. And of course, people are disgruntled by the way the place is dirty, not kept well. And of course, we have a problem there, health and hygiene, right? That's a public place. When you think about the airplane, for example, the same thing as well. You are on the plane and you have children, and the children are making a whole lot of noise. You're disturbing the elderly people and other people who are sharing the same space with you. So when you're on the plane, you have to be mindful of other people that are going to be using it. So even when you're sitting down, it's a confined space, right? So you don't want to disturb other people. You want to make sure that you have a smooth ride without upsetting anyone while you're in that public space. What about when you're at the cinema as well? You know, a cinema is a place where, and a library, where you have to keep quiet. You don't want someone to keep telling you, shh, shh. What does that mean? You're not supposed to use your phone when you're in such places, like a library, for instance. Then you're in the supermarket as well. A whole lot of things. And many places where people are, I won't say maybe ignorant of other people, right? They think they're in their home. So you're in a reception in a restaurant, or you're in the reception of a hotel. You're not going to put your feet on the desk or on the table as if, and you're watching the TV as if you're in your sitting room, right? So people wouldn't like that. I've seen cases where some people are in they're in the not waiting room. There's a public place where you can sit down in a hotel, right? And some people have taken off their shoes, put their feet on the table, and their hand behind them, they're watching the news. And like, hey, this is not your sitting room. You don't do things like that. Then when you talk about dining environments, you're in a restaurant. I have literally seen people, and I've done videos on it as well, where they've given you a napkin, it's for your hands. Wipe your hands down because you're about to eat. Then guess what happens? You see them using the same napkin to wipe their face, to wipe their hair. I've seen them do this. I'm like, oh, this is not the bathroom. So it's really about perception and how you want people to see you when you're in a public place.
When in the public, it is important to be courteous and respectful of others. You might not always know the rules, but if you make a genuine effort to be considerate of others with the intent not to disturb them, the conscious effort would show.
For me, I would love to see an environment where when we see something that is not right, we correct. I've done that severally, and I'm brave enough to do that. And most times when I finish speaking to the person says sorry, because maybe at the time they were doing it, they didn't realize how bad it was and the consequences to another person. But most times you find that they are truly sorry because it just didn't come down to that.
The rules of behavior when we're in public vary from culture to culture.
If you've ever been to Singapore and you're in a public train or any public environment, you're not allowed to chew chewing gum. And they made it a law. And so now people are very conscious. Don't chew chewing gum, you get fined, you can be imprisoned. So they've made it part and parcel of their life.
However, culture is an ever-evolving phenomenon that changes as the needs of the people changes. We all have rights, but it has limitations where the exercise of your rights begins to infringe on the rights of others. Behaviors such as playing music or videos loudly on your phone in public, receiving calls loudly in public places, or even blowing horns arbitrarily can be seen as offensive. Here are some common etiquette to take note of in public. Offer up your seat. If you're in perfectly good health, offer your seat to anyone who is either in poor health or pregnant. Make commuting easier for those who need it. Let the waiter come to you. Never yell or wave your hand at a waiter while dining. Make their job easier by being patient or politely get their attention when they pass by. Know your audience. Be aware of who's around before engaging in hot topics. Respecting people's sensibilities is the proper way to behave. Make sure to tip. Tipping is essential for certain employees to make a decent income. Make sure to leave a tip as a token of your gratitude whenever possible. Even services you might not think of, like a haircut or dog grooming. Say excuse me. It's the polite thing to do when you bump into someone. Even if you're not really the one to blame, why not just avoid conflict and brush off the situation? Use a coaster. Spilling isn't the only way to make a mess with your cold beverage. Say please and thank you, especially to those closest to you. Smile at the cashier, the bank teller, the security man, your co-worker, even if he or she doesn't smile back. Hold the door for the person behind you, and if someone holds the door for you, remember to say thank you. Step outside to answer your phone calls. Sometimes you have to take an important call. It is important to step outside to take your call because it's not fun to hear your conversation when we're trapped behind you in a line. Give people a pass. Cranky salesperson, nasty driver, you have no idea what's going on with that person right now. You don't have to reward ugly behavior with your own nastiness, which only perpetuates the cycle. Look at the person who's speaking to you. It is polite to listen to people who are talking to you and not just type away on your smartphone. Let someone go in front of you in line. Cough or sneeze into your elbow. Put your smartphone away during meals. Be on time. Ask before posting. Not everyone wants to be all over social media and you're not a reporter, so stop spreading the news. Keep the noise down at work. Silence the ringer on your phone. Speak quietly and turn the sound down on your dinging emails so it's not bugging everyone you work with. Wash your hands after using the bathroom. Park your shopping cart on the side of the aisle. Ask permission to use someone's first name. Clean up after yourself, at home, at work, at a friend's house. Ask before bringing a guest. Don't assume they're automatically invited no matter how well you know your host or hostess. Stay at home when you're sick. Reach out to people who are grieving. Don't pretend nothing happened. If you don't know what to do or say, you can simply say you're sorry. Let people get off the elevator first before you get on. The same rules apply to trains and buses. Silence your smartphone at the movies and stop crinkling that candy wrapper so loudly while you're at it. Help someone who's clearly struggling. The next time you see someone straining to reach something on the highest shelf at the grocery store, help him or her out. Skip controversial or nosy topics at parties. Politics, religion, or asking when they're getting pregnant or how much weight they lost. Those topics are sensitive and should be off the table. When you enter a room, greet everyone. Return calls. If someone takes the time to leave you a voicemail, take the time to call him or her back. Use an earphone or headphone in public while scrolling through social media.
Good morning. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. This is the news brief. President Bola Tinubu has pledged Nigeria's commitment to end gas flaring as part of its contribution to the global push to reduce methane emissions. Tinubu told world leaders at the COP28 summit on methane and other non-CO2 greenhouse gases in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Tinubu spoke alongside the COP28 President Dr. Ahmed Al-Jabbar, the United States Special Envoy on Climate Change, John Kerry, and the Chinese Envoy on Climate, Xi Zhenhua, saying Nigeria has incentive and punitive measures to encourage compliance and punish defaulters. Commending the Emirati government for its drive to reduce GHGs, the president welcomed new developments made by the entities, harping on the need for participants to implement their net zero commitments.
We are committed to critical steps to reduce methane emission by ensuring flared gas are eliminated. There's a huge penalty for that. There's equally a huge incentive to do so. The measures that we're taking here is a welcome development, no doubt about that. And we are with the leadership of UAE for the commitment so far. We are consolidating on the gas export, usage domestically and export for other countries. I can assure you that we will be partner in progress to achieve renewables. We are committed to energy mix. We are providing cooking gas for a large population. We will continue to do that. We've signed off on reduction of methane. We will leverage on new technology, and we hope the two giant nations and the Emirates will be able to help us through. The Africa, what I know of Africa is the fact that the risk in additional investment and technological know-how, it is very necessary.
In the same vein, Nigeria is introducing a fleet of 100 electric buses as part of its ambitious plan to reduce its carbon footprint and modernize its transportation system. President Bola Tinubu announced the initiative at the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai. The move aims to position Nigeria as a pioneer in green manufacturing and industrialization, focusing on natural gas as a transition fuel alongside other renewable energy sources.
You will help the productivity level by ensuring that we can guarantee the risk in every way possible. The local manufacturing demand is there, and the opportunity, whether it's limited or not, until you start it, you never can say. The government is open for this business. We are reforming as we go along. All the power, web, and hindrances being removed. So, to all of you present here, potential investors and other businesses, I give you the assurance that the government is in for this for a long haul. Thank you very much.
This institution of a Nigerian carbon market, and of course the rollout of the electric vehicles. Our special representative at the UN has mentioned to us that Nigeria is in fact leading the way in terms of climate action and the energy transition. But you know, the reality is that about $3 trillion has been spent on renewable energy transactions. And Africa as a whole has only had about 2%. So even though we're leading the way, this is a very welcome development in terms of formalizing the carbon market.
And on December 12, 2023. In a post on X, the ex-governor of Anambra State described sending over 1,000 persons to the summit as a waste of scarce resources by the Tinubu administration. Obi lamented the huge contingent in Dubai at public expense at a time when most Nigerians can hardly afford food and basic needs. Meanwhile, the presidential aide Temitope Ajayi, in a comment, defended the delegation of the president to the summit, saying that President Tinubu and other officials of the federal government delegation are in Dubai for serious business, not jamboree. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has strongly criticized the reported over-bloated delegation led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the COP28, converting a climate change conference into what he described as a jamboree, all-comers and a Wambe party with over 1,400 delegates. He characterized the situation as ridiculous and indicative of a governance approach lacking awareness and responsibility. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, on the other hand, has urged the President Bola Tinubu to provide a breakdown of expenses of the delegates representing Nigeria at the ongoing COP28 in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE. Reports from the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, revealed that Nigeria boasts 1,411 participants, making it the third largest delegate count among the 81,027 registered attendees, matching China's figures. Furthermore, Nigeria has the largest delegation from Africa attending the summit. The composition of the Nigeria delegates include ministers, governors, presidential special advisors, and notable members of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Criticisms has mounted against the federal government for allegedly using public funds to sponsor delegates, prompting outcry from Nigerian citizens. In a statement released on Sunday, Debo Ologunagba, the PDP spokesperson, accused the Tinubu-led administration of misusing the country's limited resources. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has called on Nigeria's Senate President Godswill Akpabio to reject the 15 billion naira plan by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike for a residence for the Vice President Kashim Shettima. SERAP argues that the proposed spending is a breach of the Nigerian Constitution and international anti-corruption and human rights obligations. The group urges the Senate to exercise its constitutional oversight roles. Also, the National Assembly will hold joint sitting to consider President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2024 budget proposal. Senator Adeola Olamilekun, chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, stated that the lawmakers will work on Saturdays and Sundays to meet the deadline. Olamilekun clarified that the sectoral details of the budget were released to the public and that the meeting was primarily focused on meeting the December 31st deadline.
We have discussed extensively so that we can return the budget to the appropriation committee for us to collate their findings at the committee level. But this time around, what has changed is that we'll be having joint sitting of both the House of Reps and the Senate. Okay. There will be no individual agency. It will be a joint sitting between the Senate and the House. Some committees will be operating from the Senate, while some will operate from the House of Reps, so that we can still meet the deadline. Part of the directive given by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is that all ministers at this point should ensure that they are on ground to defend their budgets before the National Assembly. And I know no head of agencies or parastatals will flout that order of the President, and we are working towards that.
And from Edo State comes the report that legislators emphasize the importance of transcending just making laws for the people to benefit from democracy. Honorable Anamero Dekeri, a member representing a Sako federal constituency, announced his intention to contest in the 2024 governorship election, citing lack of development and amenities in the state. Dekeri aims to bring positive change across critical sectors including economic growth, education, healthcare, infrastructure development, and social welfare.
if you look at our micro segment, our state, the sub-nation, I hear of things that are terrifying. Our people can no longer go about their legitimate businesses. People are living in fear. Even you can barely move 8 p.m. at night in your own state. When people are subject to, when your freedom is interrupted as a human being, that is the beginning of your death. Do we have another state to call our own? I can afford to say, oh, let me stay back and let me stay back at the National Assembly, yes, because of it. No, we need to, whatever we are doing, come down to this Edo State, sacrifice, do whatever we need to do. Let's talk to our people. Our youth should no longer lose hope. Today, Edo State is migrating in droves. We are all holed up in Benin City, where people are supposed to live their quality life. The life expectancy rate is depreciating, and we are saying, oh, well, I should go to Abuja and be legislating. When my state is on fire, I think it's a consideration we all need to make, we all need to look at. Thank you very much.
The police authorities in Imo State have arrested the suspected killers of a divisional police officer and an inspector at Ahiazumbise local government area of the state. Parading the suspects at the command headquarters in Owerri, the Imo State capital, on Sunday, the Commissioner of Police, Danjuma Abuki, said the relentless efforts of the police and other security operatives in unraveling the killers of the police officers led to the invasion of indigenous people of Biafra Eastern Security Network camp at Omohia in Ngokwala local government area of the state. He said while several terrorists were dislodged, several arms and ammunition were recovered from the miscreants. According to the police commissioner, some other criminals were also arrested for various cases ranging from IPOP, ESN, terrorism activities, armed robbery, murder, stealing, receiving stolen properties, cultism, and unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition.
In the course of investigation, there are 46 cases, a total number of 18 assault rifles, 5 AK-47 rifles, 6 pump actions, and total number of 359 rounds of ammunition, assaulted ammunition. From this source, we include 6 vehicles were recovered, motorcycle, charms, IPOP, ESN, ICNA, military camouflage, police, and other incriminating items were recovered from the criminals. Number 1, the lodgement of IPOP, ESN terrorist camp, recovery of arms and ammunition. Following the murder of the DPO of Aheze Mbesi and an inspector of police on 27th of 11/2023 at Ihiara Junction in Aheze Mbesi by disposable elements suspected to be a member of prescribed indigenous people of Biafra and its armed militia security network, and the subsequent confession of suspect arrested at the scene by the operator of synergy with the military operative of the kidnapping unit. On 29th of last month, 2020, stormed the camp of criminal syndicate at Omohe in Ngokwala local government of Imo State, dislodged the terrorists, recovered 2 automatic pump action rifles and 6 rounds of live cartridge.
A group, Global Peace Development and International Alert, has called on traditional leaders, parents, and critical stakeholders to join the fight against harmful cultural norms that promote sexual and gender-based violence in communities. They made the appeal at the sensitization program in Juji community in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The program officer of Global Peace Development, Yusuf Baba, said harmful cultural norms have negative impact on women, girls, and children. Also, Juji community youth leader Josiah Bawa said ignorance and insecurity are the major drivers of sexual violence in their communities. He urged the government to intensify efforts in addressing societal menace.
We thank God for this program to help the situation of our children, to help the situation of our husbands and women in this community. Things we are for them. And when they cut it from them, they can be able to make some things easy to be better in the community.
It teach me a lot for me to take it
to even teach my own children what I learned from here. It helped me because the community have challenge, serious challenge the community. And when the challenge comes from the community, it's through the leaders. When you call you as a leader, Seriki, you have something to say for your community. You have to give order to your community. Anybody who violates that law, you must call that person attention.
We move now to other parts of Africa. Nigeria is calling for the release of ousted Niger President Mohamed Bazoum and for the military junta to allow him to leave for a third country. Nigeria is currently chair of the Regional Group Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, which has imposed sanctions on Niger following the July coup that ousted Bazoum. It had been demanding Bazoum's immediate return to the presidency, but the military junta has kept him in detention and says it may need up to 3 years for a return to civil rule. ECOWAS leaders will meet in Nigeria's capital Abuja on December 10 to discuss the region where since 2020 coups have put military juntas in power in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea and Niger. Outside Africa, Israeli ground forces are confronting Hamas fighters across the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military said in its clearest indication yet that a planned ground offensive in the enclave's refugee-crowded south had begun as its bombing killed and wounded dozens of Palestinians. The Hamas Palestinian militant group said its fighters clashed with Israeli troops about 2 kilometers from the southern city of Khan Yunis. Residents, many of whom had moved there to flee earlier attacks in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, said they could hear tank fire and feared a new Israeli ground offensive was building. Rescuers say 11 hikers have been found dead near the crater of Indonesia's Merapi volcano after it erupted over the weekend. 3 people were rescued on Monday. The search for 12 other missing has been suspended due to a small eruption. There were 75 hikers in that area at the time of the eruption, but most were safely evacuated. Mount Merapi, one of Indonesia's 127 active volcanoes, spewed ash as high as 3 kilometers into the air on Sunday. Authorities have imposed the second highest alert level and prohibited residents from going within 3 kilometers of the crater. In business news, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has approved a full waiver of penalties and interest on outstanding tax liabilities subject to full principal payment by December 31, 2023. The concession aligns with Section 32 of the Federal Inland Service Act, LFN 2004, are in line with the government's commitment to support businesses. The full penalty and interest will be reinstated after the concession window expires, ensuring taxpayers are liable to pay the tax they should have deducted and remitted. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Henneken Lokbobiri, has said the country is on track to surpass the oil production quota set by OPEC. At the 36th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting, the global oil cartel suggested Nigeria could achieve 1.5 million barrels of crude oil per day in 2024. However, 3 consultancy firms, IHS, Rystad Energy and Wood Mackenzie, have said Nigeria will not meet the target. Nigeria currently produces 1.5 million barrels of crude daily. In entertainment news, popular disc jockey Florence Otedola, popularly known as DJ Cuppy, has officially addressed her failed relationship with Ryan Taylor, the British boxer. While speaking on the Wembley stage, Cuppy noted how she was engaged last year, saying she was now single. She proceeded to outline the challenges she encountered this year, including a broken engagement, an unsuccessful jewelry line, and nearly facing academic setbacks. Nevertheless, she remains optimistic about the unfolding chapters in her life. In sports news, 10-man Chelsea shrugged off a red card for captain Conor Gallagher to edge Brighton 3-2, while West Ham drew 1-1 with Crystal Palace. Chelsea recorded just their second Premier League home win of the season against Brighton, despite being reduced to 10 men before half-time. Mauricio Pochettino's men were cruising midway through the first half after goals from Enzo Fernandez and Levi Carhill. Earlier, Leon Bailey had cancelled out an opener from Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo before Dominic Solanke put the home side back ahead. At the London Stadium, Mohamed Kudus put West Ham ahead in the first half before Odson Edouard equalised in the second period to earn a point for Crystal Palace. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, X and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Many thanks for being there.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Transportation in major cities in Nigeria has taken a different turn since the introduction of ride-hailing services enabled by technology. It has provided employment for many and made transportation easier and relatively cheaper. However, because of its peculiarity, the dynamic between drivers and passengers comes with its own conflicts. Drivers and passengers often complain about their interactions with one another. Many issues like courtesy on the part of passengers and drivers, being kept waiting for too long, where a passenger chooses to sit for the ride, the direction of the trip, and many more are some of the causes for conflict in this short relationship. Lawo, a hail ride driver, shares some of his experiences.
At times, some of them will set location. The map or the app will automatically give them another location. So by the time you get to the location, on the address, you call them, they tell you, sorry, I'm sorry, I should have told you. The map used to do like that, used to take people to another state, go and turn and come back. You know, that can be ridiculous. And at times, you know, the Lagos traffic, whatever, that the route you pass now, or probably before you even got through, it was hell. Now, having to go back, it can be very irritating.
How is this relationship supposed to be navigated? Mutual respect is key, and under no circumstances should riders or drivers disrespect the other. Riders should respect the vehicle they are in and should leave the vehicle in the condition in which they found it. Unruly behavior such as damaging the vehicle is not tolerated. Using bad language is also not tolerated. Being aggressive or discriminatory can also get a rider banned from using the app. Although friendly conversation doesn't do any harm during a trip, respect should be upheld at all times. Both riders and drivers should give each other space and should not make each other feel uncomfortable. Not texting while driving. Drivers should always take a break if they are tired. Riders should play their part by wearing their seatbelts and not trying to cram in extra people when there aren't enough seatbelts. Riders also need to refrain from bringing alcohol or banned substances into the vehicle and should not ask a driver to go faster than the speed limit. As a rider, request your ride inside. To minimize the time that you're standing outside by yourself with your phone in your hand, instead, wait inside until the app shows that your driver has arrived. Check your ride. Every time you take a trip, ensure you're getting into the right car or the right driver by matching the license plate, car make and model, and driver photo with what's provided on your app. Have the driver confirm your name. In addition to the check your ride safety steps, You can also ask the driver to confirm your name before you get in the car. Your driver sees your first name in your app, and your driver's first name is displayed to you in your app. Be a backseat rider. Whenever possible, sit in the back seat, especially if you're riding alone. This helps ensure that you can safely exit on either side of the vehicle to avoid moving traffic, and it gives you and your driver some personal space. Share your trip details with loved ones. While en route, tap Share Trip Status in the app to share your driver's name, photo, license plate, and location with a friend or family member. Be kind and respectful. Please respect fellow passengers and your driver and their car. As for drivers, here are the standard procedures required.
After a rider books a ride, you drive immediately to the location. And then until you get to the location, you don't click arrive, which most drivers, that is where they have their own faults too. So immediately they pick your ride, they click arrive. And normally, the app owners have given 5 minutes of grace. The moment you get to a place, after 5 minutes, the person doesn't come out. It will start charging the person a certain amount of money. So, but by the time you click arrive, when getting to the location will take you 9 minutes, and you have clicked arrive. So 4 minutes into his own time, you have started charging him, and you have not even at the location yet. Now, that is actually not good, which I hardly do. The only time I do it is when I'm booked in an estate, and I get to the gate, and they say, call the person to come out. Immediately before I call the person, I click arrive, because that's the estate. So I'm having to navigate my way through that, his own cup of tea. When I click arrive, then the person has 5 minutes before he will start being charged by the app. So after 5 minutes that I've clicked arrive, the person will start being charged. Then once the person gets in and will click start, then I'll ask the person, can we move? He say yes. Then I'll click starting up of the trip. So once I click on that, the trip starts. Then we continue moving.
So Nigeria has been at the crossroads of monetary policy drift and fiscal policy indecisiveness in the last 9 years. Now, however, since June 2023, the new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, seems to have decided that all things have passed and new dealings are on the horizon. The public policy rethinking was captured in an initial 8-point public policy initiative that took a fresh look at monetary and fiscal policy management. The president appeared willing to usher in a new dawn on public policy administration. Indeed, in a speech delivered by the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Dr. Olayemi Cardoso, at an end-of-the-year event of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, the Central Bank Governor made it clear that the CBN under the new dispensation would concentrate more on traditional monetary policy goals such as inflation targeting rather than quasi-fiscal economic interventions. However, today on the show, we'll keep our eye on the planned recapitalization of commercial banks plus the BVN, NIN, KYC drift of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Welcome to Business Insights on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye. Now, before we get into the discussion proper, let's take this report. Market women at Tedroshow have been urged to make the most of simple technological tools to scale up their business and accelerate growth. This advice was given during a She-enabled sensitization program organized by the Enterprise, Growth and Opportunities Ego Foundation at Tedroshow Market in Lagos. Details now.
Nigeria is experiencing inflation, and most women are depressed and struggling with their businesses. They are helpless, and most of them are victims of mismanagement due to lack of proper financial management. So it is apt that these young people from the Ego Foundation take time to distribute multilingual pamphlets on the importance of maintaining and reading or computerized records of their sales and stock.
And this is what I know I'm able to make. These are the things that we want to teach you. I sell this thing.
Well, back here at this hall, women listen with rapt attention on how they can be financially included with the help of their mobile phones. The session is interactive.
I think they will charge about 800 and something, let's say 1,000 naira.
Then how do you reach out to those kind of group members?
Roland Ajetomobi is a serial entrepreneur. He is here to share knowledge and insights with the market women and entrepreneurs on the best way to go.
At the moment you are able to have a mobile device and you can subscribe to that device with internet and data, and you also have a bank account, you can use that device to make money.
Toluwase Olaniyan is a convener. He shares the idea behind desensitization and also speaks on plans to extend the program to other markets.
And for us, it is instructive at this time, right, and very, very important, helping women, supporting women through, becoming better at their businesses. Of course, around where we have large markets and on the South communities. So we've been to Alimosho, been to Mushin. So the next stop will be, we're going to Ikorodu, we're going to, Fai, Egbeda, Badagry. Places where we can harness a large number of businesses. It's almost natural for women to be excluded, financially. A few people feel it's expensive. Few people feel it's for the high class. So what we're trying to now do is to take it to the inner roots and help them understand the essence of this and how this can become a lot better.
This petty trader is overjoyed about the knowledge learned. She, like other women, are speaking with one voice on how their horizon have been expanded.
I'm happy because I know that the various women that comes here will be benefited.
You need to mix to have people they can afford what you are selling on your status. In your group or your WhatsApp, your Facebook.
I'm not limited to these shop things of a thing. I can easily broadcast it online and how to also reach out to other group members.
Felicia and Olajumoke are just few out of many who have benefited from the She Enabled program, which aims to help women improve their trade, showcase their businesses on digital platforms, upgrade their bookkeeping skill, and at the same time get connected to advisors and global funding opportunities. Welcome back from that feature. In his speech at the CIBN end-of-year conference, the governor of the CBN, Yemi Cardoso, hinted at the need for the banks to brace for recapitalization, considering the significant loss in the value of the current capitalization and the capital required for the envisioned $1 trillion economy. Analysts say the approach should instead be of incentives and not coercion. With the strong performance of the banking sector in the market, which suggests an attractive return on the banking index, there seems not to be a concern for the bigger banks, as investors would willingly commit resources given the lucrative opportunities in the sector. I have international finance and economic analyst Mukhtar Mohammed joining me now to discuss further. Good morning to you, Mukhtar. Many thanks for joining us on Business Insights.
Good morning, Justice. Thank you for having me this morning.
All right. Mukhtar, it's been 19 years. I remember in 2004 when there was so much talk about banking, bank and capitalization, and the market, capital market was booming. Well, it's been 19 years now since the CBN announced banks to recapitalize to $25 billion. Remember what happened with acquisitions, mergers, and marriages of misfits, if I must say. But first off, how do you react to this development?
Well, Justin, very good development. If you're in the Tier 1 bank, might be a turbulent time for the Tier 2 banks. So in as much I'm excited about it, like you said, we did this 19 years ago when we moved from 2 billion to 25 billion. That was over 1,200% increment. So after that time, we've seen banks recapitalize, came to the market. We've seen shareholders' funds expand, especially in the tier 1 bank. So like you said in your report, I don't think the tier 1 bank has anything to fear. Maybe the tier 2 banks may have some challenges, not all of them. But again, some of them have been proactive. They're already trying to assess the market before this policy came out from CBN. Up till now, we are not clear yet about how the policy is going to work. So we're still waiting for direction from the CBN. What would be the minimum capital requirement of the banks? Some of the tier 1 banks are doing profit of over 1 trillion naira. Also, some of them, in terms of dollars, have recapitalized even to the tune of about $500 million. So it depends on what the CBN governor will be looking at, or the CBN will be looking at, where and by the $1 trillion economy. But again, when you want to drive a $1 trillion economy, you ask yourself, have you been able to put in place a $1 trillion fiscal policy? Because if you put in place a $1 trillion monetary policy and you don't have a $1 trillion fiscal policy, then you are in for a shocker.
Okay, in as much as the central bank has not actually given like a direct policy guidelines on how much recapitalization the banks are supposed to do this time around, but reactions have been trailing that development. I have spoken to some analysts, and they have like a mixed grill of how it should go in terms of approach. Some are saying that it should be more of incentives and not coercion. How should the CBN go about this? Do you agree with the whole coercion and incentives based approach?
I think both has to come to play. You can't just use one, depending on which. Like I said, if you're a tier 1 bank, then you must have a lot of incentive. If you're a tier 1 bank, you have to have a lot of coercion. If you're a tier 1 bank, then you're a tier 2 bank, then you need to begin to think about incentives. So it all depends on where we are. But I like some of the analysts have said it's not recapitalization that definitely make the bank stronger. It's the strategy behind the recapitalization. Because if you recapitalize, do you have the monetary policy tool, or do you have the tool to monitor this recapitalization? Or do you have the human capital to make sure that you drive this recapitalization? Because this will involve a lot of liquidity in the system. And again, you remember in when we did the first recapitalization, we saw a lot of banks came in there. At that time, the CBN governor, then now governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, said it will be typical for any Nigerian bank to fail. But it didn't take long. After the recapitalization, we saw a lot of banks going out, and that was due to lack of human capacity to monitor the type of liquidity and risks that some of these banks were taking at that time. So if you're talking about recapitalizing the bank, how much human capacity have you developed as a regulator, and how much capacity, human capacity, as you also develop as a money deposit bank to manage the kind of liquidity that is coming into the system?
So talking about liquidity, before I move into my next question, I just want to analyze some things you said in passing when we did the last recapitalization 19 years ago with some banks failing, and most banks were exposed as per their weaknesses and all of that. Do you see that playing this time around? Would this new capitalization show us exactly the true picture of what the commercial banks and deposit money banks are really doing in terms of strength?
Just in the pictures are there to show if you follow their earnings.
Right.
So you could see that's why we categorize the banks tier 1, tier 2 banks now. Because even in the tier 2 banks, you have what I call super tier 2 banks that are beginning to compete favorable with the tier 1 banks. So it depends on where you are and what you are trying to achieve. For me, I think when you talk about that, I think the banks have really driven the Nigerian economy thus far. They've been one of those resilient sector that we have seen in the Nigerian economy, despite the various challenges they still turn in good profit, they still turn in good earnings, they still pay good dividend to their shareholders. Of recent, most of them have even hiked their interim dividend by almost 45% to their shareholders. So definitely you will see that the banks have really lived up to the expectation, whether in tier 1 or tier 2. But like I said, the challenge with Nigerian banks will not only be that of liquidity again or recapitalization, like you said in your report.
Yeah.
Recapitalization might not be a problem for the Nigerian banks, and I still say it. The worst that will happen, you see, re-strategizing, like I said, incentive, whereby you might begin to see merger, and you see coalition, whereby you begin to see maybe some bigger banks outside the shore of this country begin to take stake in the tier 1 bank also. So all this will come to play, but as it stands now, I think by virtue of the results, that the Nigerian banks they are stronger. And if you do a stress test today, and like the CBN governor alluded to, the banks are not having any financial crisis, but they are looking towards building a $1 trillion economy, which they think that the bank should play a significant role in building that. And if they have to do that, then their liquidity must be high, especially via the exchange rate as it stands now.
All right, let me share more reactions that I got with you. Some have said that the CBN can use prudential guidelines to strengthen tiered arrangement. They said that the Apex Bank can also use differential cash reserve requirement and preferential participation in the forex market for well-capitalized banks as some of the incentives. Do you foresee challenges for some banks, and what direct impact would it put on the capital market?
Well, for the capital market, I think the capital market will be the most beneficial if this scheme comes to true, like what you saw in 2004, or driving that when they came to the recapitalization, actually brought a lot of Nigerians into the capital market, and that could also be great, especially bringing young Nigerians into the capital market if this policy starts and most of the banks have to recapitalize. In terms of the policy statement, where some analysts are saying about using your cash reserve system, using your participation in the FX market, accessing the CBN windows and all that could be some of the criteria policy to use to know incentive for these banks. I don't think that would be a challenge, but like I said, it could be something that the CBN are working at. But from where I'm standing now, I don't think it will be any challenge, especially even for the tier 2 bank, to raise capital to the tune that what the CBN. And I think in the coming days, those discussions will be out. We'll know what the CBN, what is going to be the minimum capital requirement of the Nigerian banks. And not to forget that most of the tier 1 banks, even some tier 2 banks are now having subsidiary outside the shore of this country, and not just in this country alone, in larger financial cities of the world, like London, like France, like also in New York. And so they are really expanding, and they are playing their role in the global economy. So that's why I think it will not be a challenge for them to attract the kind of capital they need to build their capital base, especially with the kind of opportunity that are much in Nigeria.
All right, before we move into some other things that the CBN is talking about or is actually planning, you talked about banks, branching out to outside the shores of the country, New York, London, and all of that. In recent times, we've been seeing lots of banks forming parent companies and all of that. I just want to get your reactions concerning that.
Justin, the world has gone to become a one shop business, and they call it one shop place. So the banks are not don't want to be left out, especially with the advent of the fintech side of the economy. So what the banks are doing now is to diversify into holding structures, like it's done globally, and I think it's good. But again, my challenge is also in the area of monitoring. But thank God what the CBN have done. The CBN is not interested in what they are doing in the holding structure, because the banks now become part of the holding structure. But the CBN is key about what the banks are bringing into the holding structure finance, and that is key for me. The CBN have refused, even after the bank has said, look, we are not a holding company. The CBN is still having a grip on the banking sector, still have to edit, you have to check their books, you have to know whether what they're saying is right. So I think it's a good development in the long run, because that's what the best global practice these days. Every bank wants to become a one-shop center, and I think Nigerian banks should not be left out. And that is why we think there's so much opportunities in if the bank will have to recapitalize, the kind of opportunity they will drive, especially from the foreign exchange market, will be very huge, because we have begin to see a lot of foreign investors coming in and wanting to take a stake in this bank, especially in their holding companies, like the fintech companies who want to come here, especially because of also a larger population of youth, and also the lack of penetration that we have in financial inclusion. So they come in, bringing the products, you could begin to see a lot of penetration. So there's a huge opportunity in that space, and I think that's why the banks don't want to be left out. That's why they are forming holding companies.
All right, just before we round off now, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it will freeze accounts without a bank verification number, BVN, or National Identification Number, NIN, from April 2024. According to the bank, a BVN or NIN verification will be conducted shortly, adding that the move is part of its efforts to promote financial system stability and strengthen the Know Your Customer KYC procedures in financial institutions. What are your thoughts, Mukhtar? Because right now, I thought by now everyone would have been linked to the BVN platform as it is.
Yeah, according to the CBN, Martin One publication have it that we have about 45 million Nigerians with that BVN, and I was shocked. But again, I'm looking at it, some of these Nigerians might be Nigerian in the diaspora since the last time they opened an account in Nigeria, they've not been here. Also could be as a result of passing on. Maybe some of them are late now. Own account, yes, definitely. When you own an account that is not linked to a BVM, when you get to the bank will make sure they link that account to the BVM before you have any transaction. I think the major problem is from the wallet area, the kind of wallet coming, and this has to do with fintech. Most of them have not been able to transit that session of linking their customers with the BVM. Even in the Kenya Electricity, as it stands now, have already linked their customers with their BVM, their customer NIN to their prepaid meter. So definitely, I'm surprised that the CBN is trying to rule out sanctions and measures. I think more or less most of those accounts could be what I just said will happen. So what we need to do is to reach out to some of these account holders, and I know that's sustain what current status are in those accounts. That could be what we should do than just putting the whole banking sector into a panic mode.
All right, thank you so much, Mukhtar. Thanks for all of the useful insights that you have shared on the show for today. We do appreciate them.
Thank you, Justin, for having me. Good morning.
All right, and that's the size of the show for today. I am Justin. Akadonye Business Insight will return to your screen same time. Many thanks for being there. Bye for now.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. to advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Being online has become a part of our every waking moment. From the moment we wake up in the morning till we hit the pillow at night, we are browsing, scrolling through social media, responding to messages. We live our lives online almost as much as we live it in reality. These anonymous interactions, like any other human interaction, comes with complexity and challenges. People get into civil discussions, debates, banter, and share with one another. With these interactions come disagreements, arguments, conflicts that can soon degenerate into trolling, bullying, and general unpleasantness. The discretion we employ in face-to-face interaction is further decreased online. In fact, according to psychologist Robert Sutton, disrespectful, demeaning, and downright mean-spirited behavior is worse than ever. This behavior is especially true of online discourse, which researchers describe as the online disinhibition effect. Stanford psychology professor John Sula in 2004 said, "The online disinhibition effect can cause people to act out in either a benign manner, wherein they overshare their personal information, or in a toxic manner wherein they become abusive or threatening." "I am in my house, come and beat me" is a common saying online that alludes to the inaccessibility that emboldens even regular people to behave in less than civil ways online. Another factor responsible for this behavior, apart from anonymity and availability, is solipsistic introduction, a situation, according to Dr. Sula, where you don't have any physical cues associated with the person you're communicating with, and other person becomes just a voice in your head. As such, the people in your online conversations merely become characters in your imagination, formed by your own personal history and expectations. You might also hear his or her voice as your own, which makes you feel more comfortable with the other person and further lowers your inhibitions. As we have rules that guide our interactions in real life, unspoken rules need to be developed for our online interactions. Social media etiquette, or social mannerism simply put, means do's and don'ts for social media interactions. These etiquettes are also referred to as netiquettes. The term netiquette refers to all aspects of online communication, including email, instant messaging, social media, multiplayer gaming, and other forms of online communication. The main goal behind netiquette or mannerisms on social media is to treat others with respect and take care of intellectual property rights and associated implications. Personal information, images, or videos of anyone should not be shared without consent or mentioning credits where due. Except we seek to change such behaviors, it will pervade. Here are some social media netiquettes. When sending a DM, be polite and go straight to the point. When responding to posts, even if you disagree, be careful not to use condescending and insultive words. Take a 5-minute pause before you post any comments. Don't comment on topics that people tend to be passionate about. Don't respond to insults or hateful language. Don't say to people online what you won't have the audacity to say to them in person. Avoid excessive tagging of people. Ask before tagging people. Although it may seem inoffensive, tagging a friend or acquaintance on social media without their permission could in many ways cause problems for that person. Good social media etiquette means you should always request for permission before tagging anyone. Post only flattering pictures of other people. Apply the billboard test. Assume that everyone in the world can and will see everything you post. So if it's not billboard worthy, don't post it. Give credit where it's due. Don't post other people's photos or quotes without clear attribution. This means no screen grabs even if you have the best intentions. Instead, use a repost app to properly credit others for their own content. Think of the future you. Your taste will change as will your sense of humor, but your photos will live on forever. Use caution when posting. Don't take screenshots of other people's private moments that they shared with you in confidence. Censor yourself. You might treat your Facebook or Twitter accounts as diaries. Don't share everything with your readers. Some things are meant to be kept private.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Hello, welcome to Timeless Conversations today. My guest is a gentleman who is an epitome of altruism. All the while that I've known him, he has always done stuff just for the common good of everybody around him. In fact, to the extent that I see him as Dr. Selfless. I said Dr. Selfless because he's a medical doctor by training. Please welcome with me Dr. Dokun Adedeji. He prefers to be called Dokun Adedeji.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We also call him Papa. Now, let's talk about you as the person. As much as possible, I will make you talk about things you don't want to talk about. You don't like being the focus. But how would you not be the focus when you are the firstborn of your family?
Yeah, truly I'm firstborn, but sometimes the firstborn also can be silent in the sense that others outshine him or something. But I've lived my life like this. My kid brothers and sisters looking up to me again, and also my parents having so much trust and confidence in my leadership ability over my kids. And I think that has helped me in other things that I've done, I've been able to do.
Okay. Your family is from Igbarodo. No, Igbaroke.
Yes.
In Ondo State.
Yes.
Were you born there?
I wasn't.
But you also have a very strong connection to Igbarodo.
Oh, yeah.
Igbaroke.
You know, the thing, when my father retired and we were living in Lagos, after a while he got tired of living in Lagos, he moved to Igbaroke, and then my mother joined, and they were living there until they died. So we had no choice than to keep visiting them until my mom died some months ago.
Yes.
So, and they have their house there, which is still there. And we're also close to some of the things they do there. And the current Oba, we're also close to him. So In a sense, because of my parents, we had to be going regularly, and that was how I got a bit close to
Tigbaroke. Now, but let's talk about your family life, your early childhood. What did your dad and your mom do that was useful, helpful in turning you guys out the way you have turned out?
You know, I like that because I'm beginning to see the effect of how we were brought up and what they did on our own current lives and the way we are trying to live our family lives. My father was a banker until he retired during the Murtala Muhammad, some funny things as we learned. And then my mom actually did not work because my father said her responsibility was us. And she also took it like that until when she decided to work, then she was doing just some trading, got involved in a lot of things. So she had time to be with us. My father too managed to find time to be. And banking then is not like today. That is like cutthroat and then all kinds of stuff. My father still had time. So whenever I came back, I remember in those days, we would sit down as a family, we were talking generally about things. And those things that we used to talk about had been some sort of the things that have guided the way we all have grown up. About values, about systems, about how people should connect with other people and how they connected with us and how we saw them connecting with just ordinary people.
Okay. So what was the decision to send you to school back in, that was Ado-Ekiti?
I remember.
were you that stubborn?
No, I wasn't. You see, we were living in Lagos. I did all my primary school and all those in Lagos. And my parents felt that they wanted me to have a kind of rural background with education being the primary focus and also the Christian nature of it. So I did a variety of exams, I passed them. When I now decided I was going to go to some particular, they said, sorry, you are going to Christ School, Ado-Ekiti. And I think it was the best choice for me as well.
Okay.
And living Lagos, the glamour of Lagos and all the rascality, to then go to Christ School, that was backwater kind of a thing. And then, although again, I got there meeting some friends of mine who also came from Lagos with the same parental leaning that we want you to go somewhere and learn about other people, other things aside from Lagos.
Okay.
So it was fun.
What did that do to you? Apart from the fun aspect of it.
No,
being away for the first time?
Being away for the first time was tough. I remember the first time that we were on holiday, I was to come home. I think my dad couldn't send someone to pick me or something, so I had to come by public transport or something. So for me, it was jarring, never done that before. And also what it helped me to do was to meet a lot of people from different backgrounds. And in those days, it doesn't matter whether we were Christian or not. I mean, I met all kinds of people. And also, it allowed me to settle into education and also gave me the opportunity of going to some extracurricular things that had built my life today. It was a very good experience for me.
So, what led you to decide to read medicine?
To read medicine? To be honest with you, and I try to be as modest as possible. I was good in all the subjects. I was very good. I was one of the best in my class, in my school at the time. So for me, and again, you know those days, if you were not a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, and truly, if I didn't read medicine, I would have read law.
Okay.
And so I decided to read, and again...
So it wasn't like your dad insisted you were to read? Because, you know, it was like in those days, they would say, this is what you read.
You see, I think my family had been lucky with the kind of parents we had. None of us was mandated or corralled to read a particular, it was by choice. And I think some of the things that guided me, I remember when we were living in Ibadan, and I was to make a choice. I remember my dad's friend, two of them very well. One was Professor Femi Williams. He was pathologist in in UCH. And then I was Professor Shofora, who was also in UCH. And they were my dad's very close friends. They used to come. And I saw Professor Williams. I remember him very well. He would wear black trousers white short sleeve with a black bow tie, and I like that. I was very well, I'm very intelligent man, and from school, I passed all this, I just said I was going to read medicine.
So you wanted to become another Femi Williams?
In a sense, in terms of the way it was sartorially presented and very intelligent and very professional.
You also dress very well too, sure you know.
Oh, I thank you.
Yes.
No, people say that, but
yes.
It's just by nature, I like to be simple, but I like to be, I'm very meticulous about the things that I do, even dressing, even writing, whatever I do. So people find a bit of trouble with that. I was too particular about things, but it's just my nature.
So it's been how many years since you left Ife? I mean, yes, since you went into
medicine.
Medicine, yes.
I left medical school, I think must have been about 38 years now.
Yeah, that's almost 40 years.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And I practiced medicine for quite a while until I got tired, and whilst I was in Cadbury. So, and incidentally, you know, things sometimes work in ways that you don't understand but that you desire. After being in medical practice as a medical director in Cadbury, then I was getting tired of medicine. I said to myself, I would rather do something else. So in the process, Cadbury then had an issue. And then the MD, then a white man, thank God for white men, I mean for this reason, he called me and said, we talked about something in the company because of the issue, all the directors had gone, and they want me to move to human resources, to head human resources. I said to him, hey, I'm a doctor. So he said, no, we know, but we know that you can do it. We will give you all the practical background that you need, experience, and then we put you. So he said, okay, they'll come in, let me have an interview with the other directors who are white too. I keep mentioning the white thing because I'm not sure if the MD was black or Nigerian, whether they'll give me that opportunity.
That's a deep one.
Honestly.
We will interrogate it.
Oh, please, let's do. You know why I'm saying so?
Yes.
This was a man, they brought him because he had retired, they brought him from the UK.
Okay.
Wallace Garland. I remember his name very well. Cadbury had problems, some white people had come on the board, Alistair was there, Mike was there, and I think, and also Wallace. So he walked to my office, actually in the clinic. He had been looking for me, I wasn't there. So then he came, he shut the door and said, Doko, I want us to have a chat. I said, what is it? He said, we've been thinking about something I've discussed with them in headquarters in Birmingham. We want you to become the head of HR. I said, look, I'm a medical doctor by profession. He said, we know, but we have seen things in you that can make you that make us believe that you can handle it. So, but he said, what they will do then is try and give me practical background and all this and all the training required. I said, okay. And he said, I will think about it, that he will call me. So he got back to me, he called me and said, will I be available for an interview on Friday? I said, okay, fine. Then he called back and said, no, tomorrow. So I met the other directors, two of them, Mike, the other white man, then the South African, white South African, Alistair Gore. So we had the interview, and then 2 days later he called me and said, look, they've agreed that I should be moved to human resources, that if I don't like it, I should let them know I'll come back to medicine.
We'll come back to it. Let me just say that, don't you think that attitude was more from where they're coming from than because of their skin color?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If I alluded to white, it was
yes.
because they were white then. Well, I think it's them.
Yeah.
It's just their way, the attitude of giving anybody a chance who can do something. Not necessarily because of the skin color.
Okay, fine.
It is not unlikely that there could be some Nigerians with such disposition, but at that time there was none in my periphery.
Okay.
So I think it was more. It wasn't because of the, some also came, they were terrible, white guys, but not necessarily because of their skin color.
So what was that experience like, switching from the clinic being medical director to becoming HR director?
Honestly, it was enlightening. It gave me a wider berth in understanding. But you see, what had also helped me was the fact that as a doctor, I was dealing with human beings in a clinical sense of mobility. Yeah. But when I moved to it, I was not dealing with human beings in a social environment with their working relationship and all that they practice. So it was just a shift, but it's still about people.
Okay.
But I think it deepened my interest in people and gave me a better understanding of what trips people, how they live their lives, and what affects them. It was very good for me, and after a while again, I got tired. I said I wanted to leave.
We'll take a break. We'll be back to continue. It's still Timeless Conversations. Our guest is Dr. Dokun Adedeji. We'll be back. Welcome back to Timeless Conversations with Dokun Adedeji as our guest today. So you were saying you got tired and you thought, let me go.
You see, it's an interesting thing about what had happened to me. When I was in the clinic, I had the liberty to to practice medicine the way I always loved to practice. I had everything. The company gave me the latitude to have the things that I required to practice. And so it was a different experience for me from working in the private sector. And so when I was, after a while, I just saw, I come here, I treat people, I do this, I can't wake up the dead. So I said to myself, I'd like to have a different experience. You know, the thing that helped me, as the clinic was under the HR department, so I was attending top managers meeting and all those. So I was making contributions to our discussions, and I said that, look, this is something that I didn't think I was going to go to HR until that opportunity came. So when it came, you know, whilst I was even in the clinic, I was involved in some NGOs where I put so much time and interest even whilst working. And so I began to say to myself, and I came with the experience of what Bill Gates said. Bill Gates said when he called his colleagues and said, look, when he becomes 50, he was going to retire. And he began to do other things that gave him satisfaction and opportunities to do other things. So I said to myself, I've worked in the clinic, I've been HR, I've done my bit. I would like to spend the rest of my life doing things for other people and doing things that I enjoy, not necessarily for money, but for satisfaction. And so after a while, I told the company that I would like to leave. So they said, well, I said, I just was tired. There was no way I would become the MD of the company. I mean, going by what I can see, because I'm limited in that scope. And I'd rather, now when I can still do stuff, go and do things. And they said, okay, fine. So I left. And since I left, I've been involved in the NGOs that I mentioned, that now I superintend over it. And it gives me absolute satisfaction. And the peace it brings to me, I can't quantify it. So I thought I made the right decision.
So it's like you turned the page.
Oh, yes.
In your life's story.
Oh, yes.
And decided I'm going to be more into NGO, social service, as it were. Now, the NGO is Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry. That's CADAM. What informed its formation?
You know, sometimes, I remember when I won an award, and the chairman of the company, because I won the chairman's award in Cadbury, which was an international award, Cadbury staff worldwide. So the chairman asked me, he said, Dokun, what gave you this desire to do this thing? That I said, honestly, I don't know. I just think it's my nature. It's not the same thing. What happened was, I never smoked before, never drank before. One day in church, the pastor just said, look, we're starting a new ministry called Drug Addict Rehabilitation Ministry to cater to the people that have been on drugs, maybe in the hospital at home. They didn't have any intention of turning to anything else, so I joined. So once I was there, it then began, not because of my medical background, but it was just my nature. So when we were there, I began to suggest to people that, look, going to the joints and meeting this addict, just talking to them was not, they even said to us that, look, we want you to take us out of this and then put us in a place where we can get rehabilitated. That was what began the journey. So I then got very involved in it. We then built our center, began to admit people, And we went to see people turn around. There are quite a number of them. There are still a lot of them that are drug-free, living productive lives. So that was my interest.
In what year was this?
The ministry actually
Yes.
was founded by Pastor Deyemi. I think he founded the ministry in 1991.
Okay.
And then I joined the ministry in 1992.
So that's like 1991 today. That's 30 years
Yes,
ago.
and then
So you've
29.
been with it.
I've been in the ministry for about 29 years.
29 years.
And since I retired in 2010,
yes,
this is what I've been doing full time. Even I wasn't paid. But that was not until now Mommy Joe now set up a board. The board said, no, you couldn't have been doing this all these many years and then we don't. So they said they'll give me some allowance. But the allowance is not even the important thing. But the fact that it was touching people's lives, people's homes, people's families and parents.
Let's talk about not just the testimonials yet, but the drug abuse situation in Nigeria. I know it's a global thing, but let's situate it within our own area.
Leko, one of the greatest tragedy for me, or pain for me, is the issue and our attitude to substance abuse in Nigeria. Why do I say that? Since I got involved, we've been shouting at what I'm seeing that will envelope. When initially, some years ago, they said Nigeria was a user nation, a transit nation. Oh, people carry through Nigeria. I remember telling one of the top echelons of NDLA, was actually the chairman, and we're joking that then we were even a user nation. Because they didn't believe until 2013, when NDLA finally agreed that we're a user nation. Then I cautioned again, a year or thereafter, that we're not just a user, we're manufacturing. Everybody said, no, no, it can't be. Where am I going to? In 2017, a survey was done by the UNODC. The report came out in 2018. The global prevalence, the global average prevalence use of substance abuse globally was 5.6%. In Nigeria at that time was 14.4%, translating to over 14 million Nigerians between ages 15 and 64 that had used drug the previous year. And let me say this, that survey probably did not take into cognizance people who do it in the office, people who do it socially, these were people they thought that were doing drugs on a regular basis. This year, the country representative of UNODC said that figure is close to 20 million. And you know, the thing that people also need to know is this. Out of every 4 substance use abuse disorders, 1 is a female. In Nigeria, the preponderance of use in Nigeria in the population is age 25 to 39, which is the economic productive years of any nation.
Yeah.
In Nigeria today, over almost 12 million people use cannabis.
Marijuana?
Marijuana. And I can tell you, Leko, there is no area of this country that does not have a drug joint.
Freeze. Marijuana. They say that the marijuana grown in certain parts of Nigeria, right, is the best in the world. When you say is the best in the world, is there any economic opportunities derivable from that? Because I recall that even Governor Akeredolu is calling for the legalization of marijuana production.
You know why I'm laughing? Incidentally, Governor Akeredolu and I were classmates at Ayetoro.
Yes.
We're very good friends. He knows this is what I do. I disagree with him completely. You see, anybody who talks about legalization of marijuana are blinded to some facts. We know, as a matter of fact, that the marijuana grown in Nigeria, the component THC component, that is the terrible one that affects the mental and disturbs people, is very high. You see, the marijuana grown abroad for the legal uses are modified. So they're modified to the extent that the THC component is not as heavy as it is here. To say that the best in Nigeria is a fallacy. Nigeria is the 5th highest producer of marijuana in the world. Now, the thing about this is, we are not in a state yet, and I don't know when we can get there, when we can sort of decide that this is what we use marijuana for. So legalizing it will be a tragedy. It will take us down slope. And I'm glad that General Marwa has spoken against it, as many of us are against it. We need to be very careful. Yes, economic benefits are there, because we know that within marijuana, there are over 100 and something substances or compounds in it. And some of them are used in the manufacturing, they're used in building, they're used in hair industry,
hair production,
beauties and all those things. They're also used in medicine. But one thing that people forget, even the medical marijuana is not an answer to many of the conditions we use them for. In infantile epilepsy, for instance, which sometimes is used, it is not everyone that has infantile epilepsy that benefits from marijuana. And we have also known that regular drugs that are used for those conditions are far more efficacious than even marijuana. Trying to legalize it and under the guise of the legal use is just to make it into something that becomes acceptable if we're not careful. Marijuana will join the class of socially acceptable substances like alcohol and cigarette, and it's becoming like that in Nigeria surreptitiously.
Yes. Because
a lot of people use marijuana. And you know, one thing that I'd like to say is this. There are varieties of marijuana, various ones that people are now using in Nigeria. They call it loud, they call it Arizona, they call it Colorado. They are not marijuana at all.
What about the one they call skunk?
Skunk is different.
Okay.
Skunk is, let me take that and then I'll go back.
Yeah.
Skunk is a combination of marijuana, dry leaves of pawpaw, and then cocaine. That is why when people begin to use skunk, they begin to have a tendency towards addiction because of the cocaine element.
Okay.
And then they all, you see, and it's more expensive. They give a reason to say, well, because it's higher in potentiality, and that's why people use it, and it's more expensive than ordinary marijuana. Maybe ordinary marijuana, 5 rounds may cost about 100 naira or thereabout. But skunk, a pinch of skunk may cost you 2,000 or thereabout. But if I go back to Colorado and Arizona, we know that in those substances, which is not marijuana in itself, the marijuana component of them is about 10 to 11%. The rest is made of chemicals and herbs. And that is why when you see people use it, they can go berserk. They will begin to, it is the element, it is not the marijuana anymore because it's very low. It is the chemical component. They are synthetic marijuanas. And that is what is common to them. And why people use them is because the smell does not have the peculiar smell of marijuana. So if you use it at home, parents may not know. But what brings it out is the effects and consequences. And those are things, we need to do something about the substance.
You know, you said that marijuana, unfortunately, was becoming, or sadly was becoming, surreptitiously a socially acceptable drug. I recall that growing up, joints where they sold or smoked marijuana were not very much welcome within residential areas, right? But these days, sadly, people smoke marijuana on the street, openly, even people in uniform.
You know, you see, the thing is, dealing with the issue of substance abuse in Nigeria needs strategic thinking and implementation. And to be honest with you, I'm glad that General Marwa has come to become the chairman of NDLEA. He was chairman of PASIDA, and in the process, he met with a lot of stakeholders. So he had a very good understanding of what the issues are. And I think it's beginning to unfold. My fear is, I hope they give there's a political will to help him and also the resources. In the sense that one of the things we must begin to do in Nigeria is look at the NDLEA proper. The law setting it up has to be reviewed in my own understanding. Is too omnibus. what they expect to do, this. If we don't begin to particularize their area of attention, yes, it's good. They can be doing the interdiction, catching people and all the rest. But we need to place emphasis on demand reduction. If we don't do that, because one of the things that the Europeans have understood is this. They give us a lot of gadgets to catch people at the airport. You can't carry the drug. So what happens to the drug that doesn't go out? They get domesticated. And if they get domesticated, it allows accessibility and availability on different scales. So people can get it, they can use it. So the thing we must begin to look at now is how do we look at this thing? As you said, I doubt if you walk down this whether you won't find where you can buy it. And it's not limited to motor. You see, the wrong impression we've always had. We thought people who do drugs are motor park boys, rascals. It's not true. Big people, I mean, some experiences we are seeing lately have shown us that big people do. If you want to see some of these things in some areas of secluded areas of Lagos, highbrow areas, is to watch during break time. When you see, what do they call, yuppies, leave their offices in suit and everything, you see them drive to a house. They're not going there to have, just sit down. There's something that's going to happen there. Many of the parties today that are highbrow are drug-fed. So we need to be aware, and you probably also have noticed or seen from when they have done, many of the cookies, many of these things are bought online. People are making drugs and putting them in food materials and selling them to young people. And so that's why we need to worry. And when you talked about tackling it and about the availability, look, whether highbrow or anywhere in Lagos, there's no place, there's no joint.
You know, that's something that's very scary. You said there's possibly nowhere in Nigeria, no part of Nigeria where there is no joint, drug joint. What I have found is that even the drug of use, the preferred drug of use, differs from region to region.
Absolutely.
So that's like a hydra-headed problem.
Good. You know, you've just told us something that I'd like to elaborate. You know, in CADAM, we sat down and looked at the spectrum of the things available, and then we came to a classification. 4 groups. The first one is socially acceptable, alcohol and cigarette. Go and check today. There is no alcohol you will not find in sachet. And why do they put it in sachet? The man who cannot buy the bottle can buy the sachet. The sachet is about 20 naira. So when you go to the joint, you see them buy like 2 of them, using them, release the amount, put it out, and then begin to use the drug of that day. And then so it allows students to buy it. And then let's go to the next way, which is the illicit. Illicit classification, which everybody knows. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, skunk, and all of them. And all of them. Illicit because they're illegal. You can't carry them on your person and then take them, you'll be caught. And then the third one is prescription drugs. Something like tramadol, something like Refnol, something like Valium, something like injection pentazocine. These are drugs that are prescribed in hospitals for moderate to severe cases of pain. One of the things we're beginning to find that is scary, and I'm talking very responsibly because they are being called to come and intervene. There's a particular drug called injection pentazocine, which is you can get on the counter. They call it Fortwin. It's a painkiller, which is usually used for sicklers, which has been corruptly used carelessly for sicklers. If you give pentazocine to someone, in 5 minutes the pain will disappear. You will see and say, hey, there's no pain. So it's become common because you can get it everywhere. Doctors, nurses are also beginning to abuse it. And also things like pethidine, drugs you can get in the hospital. I mean, Refnol is a drug of prescription that people get. Most of these, all these drugs that I mentioned, you can get them across the counter in Nigeria, prescription. So that's the 3rd category. The scary one is the 4th category. We call them miscellaneous. Why do we say miscellaneous? Because you can't classify them as drugs. Petrol, nail polish remover, gum, Evo stick, something like toilet fumes, pit latrine, or if a non-flowing gutter, the stuff are taken and built it into a mold and put fire to it, and then they inhale it. You see, this is not localized to Nigeria. I saw it in Kenya when I visited Kenya some years ago. Some young, you know when you see people go to dung hill to begin scavenge, you watch some of them. They will sit down, put fire to it, and stand around it. The fumes that come out produce something like methane, which is also something that they inhale. So that is why we should worry, just as you said. If I can't afford cocaine, I will afford something in that category that gives the same effect in lesser category. And then lizard dung. People will gather the white part of the lizard dung, grind it, and then put fire to it or sniff it.
Oh, no.
And also, around Pakistan, Eastern Asia, they use scorpion. They will kill scorpion, dry it, and then use it to see. In Nigeria here, there's something called gegemu. You may not know it. People in the villages know it. There is a natural growing plant that they plant behind the house to drive snake. It has fruits. How students knew that it could get them high, I don't know. It was one of the universities that I went to in Nigeria, in Southwest, that told me they will pluck the leaves, they will boil it as if they boil vegetable. You can't take the fluid neat, extremely potent. So they'll put it in bottles. When they go to parties, they'll be giving you a bit. The fruit, they will pluck it, dry it, grind it, either sniff it or put it in alcohol. So when you talk about, there are different areas. We know that in some places, they put some of this in AC.
What?
So when people, AC vent. So that's why you see them, they have their closed parties. They can do this, so they get high.
But what does that getting high do to them or do for them?
It's a, I will call it an escape mechanism without they knowing it. Because what they mean is, when I do this, truly, there's a high that comes with sniffing or taking this thing. And the high is ephemeral. What do I mean by that? You take it, it makes you feel, oh, I'm on top of the world. Your problems, your pain seem to disappear. But it's like a Mexican story. A man carried a lot of load on his head. And he said, let me rest. He put it and he sleeps. And when he wakes up, what does he do? He picks up his load. It's the same thing with addiction. It gives a kind of freedom. I've taken it, I feel high. But the problem you are running away from, they don't disappear because you take something.
No.
When you wake up, you pick up your problem.
Right away.
So unless people begin, you see, there's a lot of work to do about getting people to understand why they should not get high at all.
I'll come back to that. Lot of work to do. Let's just take a short break now, and then we'll continue. We're going on a break now. Welcome back from that break. It's still Timeless Conversations with Dokun Adedeji, my guest. Yes, we're talking about drug abuse, the prevalence of drug abuse, and you were alluding to how it is so widespread, the 4 categories. What's the way out?
You know, honestly, I'm not as pessimistic as some people think about this issue of substance that we can't get out. We can't get out.
Yeah.
But it takes complementary effort. And for us to understand that it is not the NDLEA stuff or NAFDAC stuff alone, you know.
Okay.
It's about all of us. And I'll tell you how and why. To start drugs, many times we find out it starts from the home. I'm not saying that every home that has a problem, their children will take drugs. No. But it gives them there's something. There's something.
There's
that
a gravitation.
That then pushes them to take it. The thing is, primarily, that I say today is parents must be parents again. You and I grew up in a society that it takes a village to train a child.
Yeah.
Your neighbor can first of all push you by the ears and bring you to your parents.
No, flog you mean?
And flog you.
Yes.
And then still bring you to your parents and parents
And
will
they'll flog you again.
you.
Yes.
It doesn't happen today.
Yeah.
Parents go to schools to beat up teachers. What are you telling the child? He can get away with blue murder. Many parents don't know their children.
Yeah.
Because they are in economic pursuit of happiness, in quotes. Everybody wants to work. Everyone wants to be like the Joneses. You see, there's something that I tell people. You know, in psychology, there are 3 psychological components of the human person. The id, the ego. Many of us, no matter the level we get to, still suffer from deficit in ego. And the ego is, who am I? Many of us don't know who we are. We have not sat down to say, who am I? What is my purpose on earth? I didn't just get born because I want to be a part of a number. There has to be something for me particular or specific that I need to do to excel in that makes me feel confident about who I am. That is why you see people want to be like somebody else.
Yes.
You know, Wole Soyinka says something, he said, a tiger does not need to proclaim his tigritude.
At all.
A tiger is a tiger.
Yeah.
And you know, people forget that no matter your disposition, you are also prone to success. There are very good barbers, very good tailors, very good different things, but the society has shifted focus. And generally we all have lost focus, even the church. What does the church talk about today? Money.
Prosperity.
Prosperity. How can you prosper when you have not labored? And then the kind of teaching that the Bible says is not the application of what the pastors say today.
Oh no, you actually see, you hear church members say that, oh, that brother is driving a Mercedes Benz.
I
claim it. Claim what?
Claim what?
Did you claim the problems that came with it?
With it? And do you know how he got his Benz?
Yes.
You know, until we train our children, as I said to you, my father used to sit with us and talk. My father never talked about money. Money is good, but he talked about values. And you see, I think Yoruba say when you are on the road, you are pursuing money or something, and you meet honor on the road.
Yes, no. So you better take the honor.
You better take the honor because money will come with the honor.
Yeah.
But you see, we are pursuing money at the detriment of honor and value. What is wrong with our society today? Look at it. We blame the young people for this. It's not true. What did they see? What examples? Who are the role models for young people today? Absent. The people they see are the hooligans that the media will promote, put them on pages and flash them up. Do they talk about people like Dr. Korade?
Yeah.
Do they talk about the lady who found money at the airport and returned it? Or there was a boy I read lately in Uniben who did something and the dean had to recognize it. The guy couldn't pay his school fees. He found money. He returned it that would have paid the school fees. Do we talk about them? Does social media carry those kind of stories?
Yeah.
No. We carry the story of somebody who just, all these Yahoo boys.
Yes. Somebody who came into huge money all of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then nobody, even parents. Don't. So when you look at the issue of drugs, it's all those things. So if we're going to deal with it, we have to deal with it in a manner that parents understand what their roles are, and then the society also knows. You know, the problem with society is we're too quick to judge. We never give second chances to people. People that you read about, biographies and everything, if the world didn't give them second chances, look at Obama.
Yes.
If you read the story, you will know this is a classical story of somebody who would have missed it. Look at who he became.
Yeah.
We don't talk to her today about those things. I just read a book lately called Beautiful Things on drugs, written by Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
If any parent read that book, they should have a different paradigm shift as to how to deal with their children. In all the issues and all the years of addiction, Joe Biden and his wife Jill never derided this boy, never denounced him and threw him out of the house. They just said, we will stand with you. And he wrote it in the book. Those were some of the elements that kept him. So the society must begin to understand these vices grew out of our own situation. We all together must work together to help these people.
I know that there's a huge prevalence of drug use amongst the very young generation, especially university students. What's the relationship between CADAM and the universities? Both private and...
Most private. Usually, our relationship is stronger with private universities, and particularly the Christian universities.
Okay.
One started with us and saw the result, and the others learned from them. And we also now wrote in order to help the students, because many universities, out of ignorance, were expelling students. The final year. And we say to them, that is counterproductive, which is one of the things that General Marwa is now talking about. The first attempt in helping should not be punitive. We should not punish users because they are victims. So that is double jeopardy. So we wrote to the universities and said, look, we will be willing to help you. Come and visit us and see what we do. Let them come when you catch them. We will help them with rehabilitation. We will certify them. They'll go back to school. Then if you watch them, many of them have graduated. So
from university?
Oh, from university.
That's
oh, yes,
very
I
good.
know quite many are doctors and nurses and even pilots today.
Fantastic.
That graduated from us. So that gave them, and they said, why don't we try? This is not to say that every one of them they sent to us do that. 2, 3 still fail, and then they expel them because they have tried enough. But they have seen a measure of success.
So you're saying the first step is not...
It's not rustication. It's not punishment. Even if you're going to punish, let it be a lesser level. Let's say we suspend you for a semester. Go to so place or wherever you choose. Go and get rehabilitated. Bring a certification that you have stopped. We will take you back to school. We will, because what schools today check at random.
Yeah.
So they are not caught if you do well. And they'll be watching, because what we say to them is when they come and finish with us, let a lecturer who has understanding be watching over them, report to the lecturer maybe once in 2 weeks. How are you doing? Look at it, but don't begin to check them out. Maybe this guy. No, that's not the way.
But then there's the other side of checking. When they check randomly and they find some of the chemicals in their bloodstream, like THC, for instance, which I found out can last about 30 days within the system. I mean, what does that mean? And there are other sources of getting THC?
You know, the interesting thing is, if these guys are smart.
Yes.
Catching out the university authorities. Some university authorities test, but they don't catch anyone, depending on what these boys use. So,
you don't say boys only.
No, girls. Girls.
Yes.
No, you'll be surprised that this is not limited to the men folk. Women do as much drugs as men. So I use boys because in a general sense.
Yes.
So the thing is, if you find it true, you find it. But it doesn't mean that the person is on a regular use.
Okay.
Because if you use cannabis, if you don't use it within the next 2 weeks, you can still test positive. And but some of the things we are telling universities, do these things with caution. Because there are some natural tablets prescribed in hospital that can make you have a false positive result.
Okay.
With this test. For instance, let me give you. If you take Aleve, Aleve is an analgesic.
Yes.
If you take it, if they test you, they'll find THC. There'll be a false positive for THC. And so just like other drugs, there are a few, we call them non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs.
Okay.
Some of them can give you a false positive for THC. So you can't then find THC and say, oh, surely this guy, you must interrogate the fact. First of all, test and find results. Don't say this is what we found. Do you do this? Do you do this? So that you do not put the university in a difficult position. Because if the university now suspends, and then somehow the student can prove that he doesn't use drugs, if they then do then
subsequent tests.
Then it becomes a problem for the university. Then nobody will trust your judgment.
So there's a need for caution.
There's a need for caution. And you see, one of the things we also told the university, who catches someone to take for test? You need to be careful. There must be, the security can catch, but they must hand over to someone with more authority and understanding who can then say, we'll do this. If you don't do that and it becomes the security who can just take, then they will make mistakes. And what we also told universities, all this noise about drugs, they don't grow in the universities. They got brought in. Some of the staff of the university are culpable. In the kitchen, in the laundry, the marijuana
dispatch person.
Yes, all those things are people who can bring this to this. There's one particular student I saw last week who said to me that within his school, I won't mention the university, it's a Christian university. He said in their school they use Colorado. So I asked him why. He said in the test kit of the university, Colorado does not show. It's not detected. So they use it on a grand scale. To get it within the campus from people who sell it as students starts from 2,000, 2,500 to 3,000. So he now has a friend who is in a public institution who brings it, who gets it from outside for about 500 naira. So he brings it to him. But that guy was coming one day to supply it. Both of them got caught. He was tested, it was negative, although he uses. The other person who brought was positive because he uses other things. So he was suspended or expelled. So we said to him, we will rehabilitate him and do a letter to your university that this is this, and they give you a second chance. But public institutions don't really care. You come, I mean, you can imagine that population in some of these public institutions, how would they be bothering themselves? But they have to bother because they are producing people for the outside market. The same way the workplace needs to begin to bother today in terms of the people they employ. Because if you are not careful, you will employ them to your system and they begin to grow within your system. And the drug they take does not have to be some, it can be an innocuous thing. If you see somebody in the office, for instance, who is taking a particular beverage, put it on his table, the same bottle or container for like 3 hours is not, it must be strange to you. Or somebody has a flask. You know, there's this singer who sang one time, water bottle.
Yes.
Those things are not just strict water bottle. Nobody goes to a party carry water bottle.
Yes.
So you must know that there's something in it. So I'm talking about this because we must begin to be observant of the current practices in our environment to help us take decisions.
But this whole situation looks so bleak. Is there a way out?
Oh, of course there is.
You are optimistic?
I'm optimistic. Look, let me tell you my basis for optimism, particularly now.
Yes.
And I must confess, having met General Marwa and worked with him a bit, I have a feeling, I'm strongly optimistic that if he is allowed to take the time and strategy as he wants to do, with the available resources, and then with his motivating his work staff, we will get results. It will be, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. What do I mean by that? It won't happen by magic. It will happen because we join up to work with him, and it's every facet. You said something the other time in questioning me. Even within the law enforcement agencies, they are greater users of drugs than the average society. I've been to joints where I saw them in uniform, take off their cap and they're shacking up. And that's why we have those accidents at the checkpoints and all those things. The custom must be involved in the of interdiction. You know when people import, was it end of last year, somebody imported some containers of tramadol. If they were not caught at the port, they would have gone. When they said the number of tablets counted, they were distributed across every Nigerian. Each of us will have 2 to 3 tablets. You can then know the magnitude. But I can show you, if that thing had walked past them, within 2 weeks they'll be importing another set.
Another one,
So each component of society, you know, I mentioned parents, I mentioned schools, I mentioned the workplace, then the church
And the mosque too.
And the mosque, the religious body. You know why I'm particular about religious bodies? They see a lot more people than any component of our society.
Yeah.
So if the pastors know about drugs, they talk about, not in a judgmental sense, oh, if you take drugs, you go to hell. You are making the boys continue to take. Something has to take me to somewhere.
Yes.
Don't use that. We must use love and empathy and drive it home. And when they come to talk to us, it must be confidentially maintained. They might even say, don't tell my parents. Then don't call their parents, because their parents give you shoes when they travel. You call them money. Then you destroy. And the others will never tell you stop. It cuts across. The confidentiality must cut across every facet of the society. The church, the workplace, the schools, and everything.
Now, to ask you a final question, how is CADAM funded?
I thank you for asking me. It is one of the most difficult aspects of our operation. And I must say this, if not for Mommy Gio, we would be struggling like anything. She visited us and saw our center in the rudimentary stage when we were. She said, and this is a rehab center. No wonder when I tell people to come, they don't want to come. They say Bujero, and that is like
a ship pen.
Yes, so like, I said, Mommy, but what will we do? We've talked to everyone that we can talk to, no help. She then left, then called me. That was how she began to release money to us until we built a good center.
Yeah.
She then spoke to...
I should come there. I haven't been there in a while.
Oh, you should come.
Yeah.
And one of the things I even want to do, interest big Nigerians. Let them come and visit. Then they can take a decision how they can help us. Not necessarily if they want to give money. They can build certain centers. They can give us equipment. They can give us vehicles. The things that we need. They don't have to give us money, so they don't say some people want to chop their money. But it's a place for people to visit. Even when people want to have ceremonies like a poker birthday, they can say, every fund from it I give to this center, or come and help us. But finance is a major issue. The church gives us money, which today is like what we use to pay salaries to buy food, because the program is free.
Yes.
The program in Ekpe is free. We don't charge a dime for it, and they spend a year. We house them, we clothe them, we treat them, we do all those, so we feed them. So we need help. If we get help, we'll be on top of it, we will do much more.
So, call for help.
Call for help.
Talk to the people.
I wish today, if anybody watches this, you go to our website, www.cadamonline.org. No, sorry, www.cadam.org.ng. That's our website. And then our phone number is 0817-103, I think 9895. Our phone number. Our office is in Ikeja, Agidingbe, 5 Yusuf Close, off Sadiku Street, off Amaro, behind Zenith Bank. Come and visit with us. If you come, you talk to us, we'll take you to visit. You will see these people in flesh. You see the faces of addiction. And then you can see there is hope. That's why I'm happy. And I'm pleased to say to you that it's not all bleak. It looks bleak today, but there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you.
Papa. Thank you so much. My guest today on Timeless Conversations has been Dr. Dokun Adedeji, an altruistic person, totally selfless. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll follow up on what CADAM is doing. We'll come there.
We'll be glad.
We'll come there. We'll come there. Maybe we can do a special one.
I think you should.
Site.
I think you should, and maybe also get somebody like General Mara to talk to us.
Yeah, we'll reach out to him. We'll reach out to him. Thank you very much for watching. See you some other time. Bye.
increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed